Chapter 136. Su Murong could barely hold Su Xingqian down. Xia Jinxing hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed Su Xingqian's arm. Xingqian, listen to mommy. Don't be agitated. Be careful of your wounds. Let go of me. Su Xingqian was completely defeated by that nightmarish face. She lost all reason and kept crying. I want my face, I want my face. Xiaodong, Su Yunqian, you two bitches, give me back my face. Su Yunqian just happened to walk in at this time. Su Murong was the first to see her. She smiled apologetically. Yunqian, you're here. Xingqian was agitated and her mind is a little muddled. Don't take it to heart. Su Yunqian put down the fruit basket in her hand. I know. I won't be angry. Su Yunqian, I don't want your fake kindness. Get out now. Su Xingqian's hands were held by Xia Jinxing and couldn't move. He kicked at Su Yunqian with his legs. Unfortunately, the distance was too far and he couldn't kick her. Xingqian, that's enough. Su Murong couldn't take it anymore and scolded Su Xingqian harshly. Look at yourself. Yunqian is magnanimous and didn't take it to heart that you hurt her. Not only do you not feel guilty at all, you even speak ill of her. Is this what I've been teaching you? Su Xingqian let out a wah sound as he began to cry. Su Yunqian comforted her gently. Don't be angry. I don't think Xingqian did it on purpose. She's just in a bad mood. Su Murong looked guilty. Xingqian was the one in the wrong and you're comforting me. Yunqian, you're such a sensible girl. Su Yunqian smiled. Uncle, Xingqian doesn't want to see me. I'll leave first. I'll come see her when she's in a better mood. Yunqian, thank you for coming to visit Xingqian. Be careful on the way. Xia Jinxing held onto Su Murong's hand and couldn't let go. Su Murong personally walked her to the door. After Su Yunqian left, Su Xingqian's emotions were still agitated. She kept crying and throwing tantrums. The couple tried to console her for a long time but to no avail. In the end, they could only call for the doctor to inject her with a sedative. After the injection, she fell into a deep sleep. Su Murong sat by the bed exhausted. Looking at her miserable face, her eyes couldn't help but redden. Xia Jinxing put his arm around her shoulder. Wife, don't be sad. Let's think of a way to cure our daughter's face. Su Murong pushed his arm away. Xia Jinxing, how can you be so heartless? The one lying on the bed right now is our only daughter. Why aren't you sad at all? Xia Jinxing said helplessly, of course I'm sad, but it's useless to be sad. It's better to think of a way to cure Xingqian's face as soon as possible. Su Murong looked at him coldly and said sarcastically, I think you're just trying to distract me because you're afraid that I'll blame you and your ex-wife's daughter. Xia Jinxing frowned. This wasn't Xia Dong's fault in the first place. If Xingqian hadn't tried to harm Yunqian and Xia with acid, she wouldn't have ended up in this state. So you're saying that Xingqian asked for it and reaped what she sowed? Su Murong raised her eyebrows and glared at Xia Jinxing. In your eyes, is Xia Dong the only daughter you have? Let me tell you, Xia Jinxing, Xingqian ended up in this state because of Xia Dong. She wouldn't let this go so easily. Xia Jinxing saw a flash of viciousness in her eyes and hurriedly explained, Honey, what are you talking about? Ever since we got married, I only have you and Xingqian in my heart. I'm also very sad that Xingqian got hurt. Let's not talk about other things for now. Saving our daughter is more important. He knew that the more he explained, the more Su Murong would hate Xiaxia. Su Murong slowly let out a sigh of relief and calmed down a lot. Alright, I'll believe you for now. Xia Jinxing, don't do anything behind my back. Otherwise, if I find out, I won't let you off. Su Xingqian's face had third-degree burns. Because the acid had flowed down from her forehead to the bridge of her forehead, nose, and chin had the deepest injuries. Even the bridge of her nose was faintly visible and her lips were deformed. Even plastic surgery could only make her face look more normal. Su Murong knew this very well. However, like all mothers, she loved her daughter deeply and hoped for a miracle to happen. She used her connections to ask around for the best plastic surgery hospitals and doctors. Unknowingly, Su Murong woke up on the hospital bed. When she saw her mother by her bedside, she was disheartened and tears welled up in her eyes. Su Murong hurriedly used a cotton swab to carefully dry her tears and comforted her gently. Xingqian, don't cry. Otherwise, your tears will stain the wound and it'll be easy to get infected. Su Xingqian's voice was hoarse and her eyes were filled with grief. Mommy, I know that even with plastic surgery my face won't recover. If I have to face this face, I'd rather die. Su Murong gritted her teeth and scolded, Su Xingqian, you're not my daughter. I, Su Murong, will never have a daughter as weak as you. Since you're not even afraid of death, why are you afraid of living? Tears welled up in Su Xingqian's eyes again. What's there to be afraid of in death? Living means facing so many strange gazes and going to jail. It's much more painful than death. Su Murong expected better from Su Xingqian. Have you forgotten how I taught you? If others respect me, I'll respect them 10 times. If others hurt me, I'll hurt them 10 times. Right now you're suffering here, but the person who hurt you is free and unfettered. Are you willing to accept this? Her words indeed stirred up Su Xingqian's motivation to live. Her lifeless eyes slowly regained their luster. Her terrifying face was even scarier because of her hatred. She looked like a demon that had climbed up from hell. With a low and hoarse voice she said, "No, I'm not willing." Su Murong stroked her hair and her voice was terrifyingly calm. "Since you're not willing, then live well. As long as you're alive, there's hope. Whatever you want, you can still fight for it. If you die, then there's really nothing left." Right? How could she let Su Yunqian and Xia Dong wish for Gigai to die? She had to live on resolutely. Only then would there be a day when she could beat them. Su Yunqian walked out of Su Xingqian's ward. She wasn't in a hurry to leave the hospital. Instead, she went to the door of the gynecology department. Sitting on a bench in the corridor, she quietly observed. Su Yunqian saw many pregnant women accompanied by their husbands. The husbands carefully supported their wives while the wives had sweet smiles on their faces. There were also a few girls who came alone sitting in the waiting area. Their young faces were filled with uneasiness. It was easy to guess their purpose for coming here. A young girl walked out of the gynecology department. Her face was pale as she sat beside Su Yunqian in a daze. She was still holding a checkup report in her hand. Su Yunqian looked up slightly. When she saw the words 7 weeks pregnant written on the report, the corner of her lips curled up imperceptibly. She said softly, "Little girl, let's make a deal." The girl looked up in astonishment. Her clear eyes were filled with confusion. "What deal?" Su Yunqian smiled. "You don't want the child in your stomach, right? I'll help you get rid of it. I promise that no one will know. The price you'll pay is just the checkup report in your hand." The girl was stunned for a while before she reacted. She muttered, "What do you want the checkup report for?" Su Yunqian said lightly, "That's my problem. You just have to tell me, are you willing or not?" The girl bit her lip. "Are you sure you won't let anyone know?" "I'm sure. I don't have money. I'll pay for the surgery. I'll also give you 10,000 yuan for nutrition. I only have one condition." Su Yunqian stared into her eyes. "You have to swear on your life that you won't reveal this matter." "I promise I won't tell anyone." The girl raised her palm and swore seriously. In her eyes, it was this beautiful woman who had saved her. She had already regarded her as her benefactor. Su Yunqian smiled. "Very good. Give me your phone number. I'll arrange the surgery for you as soon as possible. If you don't believe me, you can give me the checkup report after the surgery." "Thank you." The girl told her her phone number and thanked her solemnly. Xinghao Group. The president had been in a bad mood recently. It was a well-known fact among the employees of Xinghao Group. Even when they passed by the door of the president's office, they would deliberately walk lightly, afraid that they would accidentally disturb the black-faced god inside. After the meeting, Bailey Han strode back to his office. He looked at the clock. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was time for Xia Dong to take Xiaobao to visit Xiaoyi again. He leaned back in his chair. He couldn't help but think of the day when he came back early and saw her bathing Daodu under the grape trellis. She gently rubbed Daodu's hair and chatted with the maid with a smile. Her eyes were burning with a long-lost passion. He couldn't help but stop and stand in the distance, watching her laugh. Suddenly, a melodious ringing of the phone interrupted his reverie. He saw the caller ID and felt a little complicated. He hesitated for a few seconds and pressed the answer button. "Han." Su Yunqian's gentle voice came from the phone. "We haven't had dinner together in a long time. Let's have dinner together tonight, okay?" Bailey Han paused and said, "I have to work overtime today." Her voice was still gentle. "Then I'll cook something delicious and send it to you." "No, I'll order takeout." "Han?" Her voice sounded very aggrieved. "I just want to have dinner with you. Is it making things difficult for you?" He rubbed his eyebrows. "Yunqian, before Xiaoyi recovers, I hope we can maintain the status quo. In the end, you still suspect me. You think I'm the one who hurt Xiaoyi." She sobbed softly. He frowned even more. "I just want both of us to calm down. I won't make any guesses before the matter is investigated clearly. Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 137. His frown deepened. I just want both of us to calm down. I won't make any guesses before I get to the bottom of the matter. She saw through his lies. You've already sentenced me, yet you refuse to see me. You don't take the initiative to contact me. You don't care about me. This is all because you've already determined that I'm the one who harmed little Wingzi. Han, don't you think this is too unfair to me? You've only heard one sentence from Xiao Yi, yet you've already determined that I'm guilty. Have you ever thought that there might be a misunderstanding? Bailey Han rationally felt that Su Yunxian was suspicious, but emotionally he hoped that she was innocent. He was conflicted, so he chose to distance himself from her to deal with this matter calmly. No matter what she said, he coldly rejected her request. After ending the call, Su Yunxian angrily threw her coffee cup on the floor. After her anger subsided, she began to plan her next move. No matter what, she had to see Bailey Han. Ever since she decided to go to Italy, Xia Dong fired the nanny. Now she was idle at home and did not hire a nanny. She cleaned the house herself and took care of the children. After breakfast in the morning, she cleaned the house and dragged the two lazy bums to the garden for a walk. After resting for a while, she taught Xiao Guai how to read and write. Then she brought the two of them to her aunt's house and asked her to take care of them. She went out shopping for food and prepared afternoon tea and snacks for Xiao Bao and Xiao Yi's daily meeting at 4 o'clock. After returning from Bailey's house and having dinner, she rushed to the autism rehabilitation class. Her schedule was very tight every day. In order to take care of the children, she almost gave up all entertainment and social activities. Even if Mika Keto wanted to see her, she could only see her after 9 o'clock in the evening. Mika Keto felt that she was working too hard and wanted to hire a nanny for her, but she refused. Her reason was that she did not have a job and would feel uncomfortable if she was idle. Today Xiaodong had to go shopping again. Xiao Bao volunteered to go with her. Xiao Guai was naturally unwilling to be left behind. Mommy, I want to go too. I can help you pick out desserts for Brother Yi. Xia Dong pinched her delicate nose in amusement. What do you know how to pick? There are a lot of people on the streets and it's very hot. It's not fun at all. Xiao Guai, don't go, okay? No, her daughter shook her arm and looked at her pitifully with watery eyes. Mommy, I haven't played outside in a long time. Let me go, but the weather is very hot now. Mommy is afraid that you will get sunburned. The sun in late July was very scorching. Mommy, wait for me. She ran into her room like a wisp of smoke. After fiddling around for a while, she ran out with a pink hat and said with a grin, Mommy, look. It's not hot anymore after I put on the hat. Gigai, be good. There are a lot of people on the streets, so it's better if you don't go. Come to Grandaunt's house to play, okay? Xiao Guai blinked her big watery eyes. Mommy, if you don't want me to go out to play, then take me to Brother Yi's house, okay? Xia Dong was in a difficult position. Xiao Bao puffed out her small chest. Mom, let Gigai come with me to Bailey's house. I will take good care of her. I will definitely not let Bailey Yi bully her. Also, didn't you want us to be friends with Bailey Yi? With Xiao Guai, Bailey Yi will have another friend. The little guy was calculating in his heart. It was very boring to be alone with Bailey Yi. With Xiao Guai, it would definitely be more interesting. Xiao Guai threw herself onto Xia Dong's leg and rubbed against it. That's right, Mommy. I also want to be friends with Brother Yi. Xia Dong looked at the two little guys' expectant eyes and nodded in agreement. The housekeeper's mental fortitude was quite good. She was not surprised by the sudden appearance of another little bun. She calmly led them upstairs. After more than 10 days of interaction, Xia Dong was already able to chat with the servant who made her tea. She was no longer restrained in the living room. Instead, she walked around the garden and helped Xiao Lu bathe Lil P. She especially loved the stone bench under the grape trellis because from there she could see Bailey Yi's room on the second floor. If she was lucky, she could even see him standing on the balcony. Even if she couldn't get close to him, she was satisfied to see him from afar. She sat under the grape trellis again. On the surface, she appeared to be enjoying the cool air, but in reality she was secretly observing Bailey Yi's room. Unfortunately, Xiao Yi wasn't on the balcony today. The large floor-to-ceiling window had its curtains drawn, so she couldn't see the situation inside. At this moment, Bailey Yi was playing Go with himself. From time to time, he would turn his head to look at the clock on the table. When he saw the hour hand pointing to 4, a strange light flashed across his eyes. There was a knock on the door. He lowered his head and looked seriously at the chessboard. Young Master Qi and Miss Xia are here to visit you today. After the housekeeper said this, she left the room. Bailey Yi didn't look up. Brother Yi, do you still remember me? I'm Gigai. Xiao Guai let go of Xiao Bao's hand and carefully walked to Bailey Yi's side. Bailey still didn't look up. Xiao Bao said sourly, Gigai, you promised me that you wouldn't call him brother. You've forgotten again. I'm sorry. Xiao Guai stuck out her tongue cutely. She always seemed to forget things. She propped up her little head with her meaty arms and leaned against Bailey Yi's table. She asked curiously, Bailey Yi, don't you find it boring to play with yourself? Bailey Yi's hand that was holding a go piece paused. Xiao Bao sharply caught it. Her lips curled into a mischievous smile and she deliberately said loudly, he won't be bored. Anyway, he's bored every day and doesn't play with anyone else. He can only play with himself. But that's so pitiful. Xiao Guai reached out her little hand and gently stroked Bailey Yi's hair as if she was petting her own pet. Bailey Yi, from today onwards, brother and I are your friends. Don't play by yourself. Play with us. Bailey Yi acted as if he didn't hear her. He lowered his eyes and continued with his actions, placing a go piece on a certain spot. Oh right, Bailey Yi, are you hungry? My mommy bought a lot of delicious pastries for you. Xiao Guai grabbed his hand and dragged him to the coffee table. Come with me. I'll get them for you. They're delicious. Bailey Yi was like a puppet, allowing her to drag him to the sofa beside the coffee table. Xiao Bao helped Xiao Guai open the lunchbox and took out small boxes of exquisite and delicious pastries. This is vanilla, this is purple potato, and this is red bean paste. Brother likes red bean paste. Here you go. Bailey Yi, which flavor do you like? I'll get it for you. Xiao Guai happily helped everyone distribute the pastries. Bailey Yi reached out his finger and slowly pointed at the little rabbit-shaped pastry in front of Xiao Guai. Xiao Guai's cute little face fell. You like this rabbit? But I like it too. Forget it, I'll let you have it. It was rare for Brother Yi to take the initiative to express his opinion, so she might as well let him have it. So Bailey Yi calmly put the little rabbit into his mouth. Xiao Bao wasn't sure if he was imagining it, but he felt that Bailey Yi's attitude towards his mother had changed. He no longer rejected the food she brought and even ate with a clear conscience. Like now, for example, he purposely stole Gigai's favorite rabbit. Xiao Bao, who had a huge sister complex, was very unhappy. He glared at him, and used his eyes to condemn him. Bailey Yi ignored his anger and calmly picked a puppy-shaped pastry and put it on Xiao Guai's plate. Is this for me? It's so cute. Xiao Guai beamed. Brother Yi wasn't as autistic as her brother said. He even took the initiative to give it to her. Xiao Bao was even more unhappy. He had been with him for more than 10 days. He didn't even look at him, let alone take the initiative to give him something. What a perverted guy, Xiao Bao cursed in his heart. Suddenly, a hand appeared in front of him. A black guy that looked like a panda landed on his plate. Humph, at least you have some conscience. Xiao Bao didn't hold back. He picked up the panda pastry and took a bite. The next second he spat it into the trash can. Damn it, of all things, you chose the peanut butter one. He hated peanut butter the most, you bastard. A smile quickly flashed across Bailey Yi's eyes. After spitting it out, Xiao Bao still felt a strange taste in his mouth, so he ran to the bathroom to rinse his mouth. The bathroom was next to the door and the door wasn't locked. It was just ajar, so when Xiao Bao came out of the bathroom, he happened to hear someone talking to the housekeeper outside the door. Housekeeper, Mrs. Su called just now. She said that Miss Su is sick and wants the eldest young master to visit her. The housekeeper lowered his voice. Then go and report this to the old madam. Xiao Bao swayed his little butt and sat back in his seat. He poked Bailey Yi with his elbow. Let me tell you. I just heard from the servant that Su Yunqian is sick and wants your daddy to visit her. He snorted and continued, I'm guessing that your daddy definitely doesn't want to visit her. That's why she called here and used your great-grandmother to force your daddy. After saying that, he stared at Bai Li with a serious expression. If you're faking it, then this move of yours is quite successful. However, that hateful woman won't let you off so easily. She'll definitely have something else up her sleeve. You have to be careful. Bailey Yi's lips curled up, but he quickly returned to his expressionless face. It was so fast that Xiao Bao thought that he was seeing things. Xiao Bao's guess was right. The Su family called Bailey Han and said that Su Yunqian was sick and wanted him to visit her. However, Bailey Han politely refused. Mrs. Su then called the Su mansion, and the old madam immediately ordered Bailey Han to visit Su Yunqian at the Su mansion. Bailey Han was forced by the old madam to the point that he had no choice but to visit her after work. She was lying on the bed with a pale face. She seemed to be very sick. Beauty novel Song Shu 566. Chapter 138. Bailey Han glanced at the bowl of porridge beside the bed. The porridge inside had not been touched at all. He frowned slightly. How can you not eat? What do you want to eat? I'll get someone to make it for you. Su Yunxian leaned against the headboard with a pillow behind her back. She shook her head delicately. No, I don't have an appetite. Mrs. Su came in with Bailey Han. After hearing her daughter's words, she immediately became anxious. How can you do that? Yunxian, you haven't eaten anything for a whole day. Mommy, I really don't have an appetite. Su Yunxian forced a smile and comforted her. Mommy, I'm fine. You've taken care of me for a whole day. Have a good rest. Okay, then I won't disturb you. If there's anything, just get the servants to call me. Mrs. Su reminded her repeatedly. If there's anything you want to eat, just get the servants to make it for you. Don't starve. Su Yunxian smiled helplessly. Mommy, I know. Go and rest. Only she and Bailey Han were left in the room. She shifted her body and Bailey Han leaned over to help her sit up. You were fine yesterday. How did you get sick? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Have you seen a doctor? I'm fine. I'm just a little dizzy. The smell of oil makes me feel a little nauseous. Maybe my stomach isn't too good. She gently held his hand, lowered her eyes and said softly, Han, are you only willing to come and see me when I'm sick? Then I'd rather be sick every day. Bailey Han's body stiffened. He said lightly, Don't be silly. I'll accompany you to the hospital tomorrow and have a good checkup. There was a smile in her eyes. Although her face was pale, she was still stunningly beautiful. No need. I know my own body. There won't be any big problems. I'll be fine after a day of rest. You're so busy. How can I let you waste your time with me? He frowned. I'll only be relieved if you have a checkup. I'll pick you up tomorrow. She tilted her body and leaned on his shoulder naturally. I feel much better now that you're willing to come and see me. If you're still worried, you can send me to the hospital and then go to the company. Well, it's decided then. He didn't push her away and let her lean on his shoulder. I'm a little sleepy. Can you sing for me? Her hand naturally rested on his chest as she leaned into his ear and whispered softly. When she spoke, her hot breath sprayed onto his ear. When she said the last word, her lips even brushed against his earlobe. His body suddenly tensed up. Almost instinctively, he pushed her away and stood up abruptly. Rest early. I'm leaving. He did not wait for her reply and quickly left. Su Yunxian looked at his tightly shut door. The frailness on her face had long faded away, and her fingers clutched the bedsheets tightly. It was already past 9 o'clock at night when Xia Dong walked out of the Autism Rehabilitation Training Center. She saw Lu Xing and Bailey Yun facing each other, so she quickly squeezed between them to separate them. Fox, what are you doing here? Bailey Yun put one hand in his trouser pocket and narrowed his fox-like eyes. He glanced at the expressionless Lu Xing and smirked. Didn't you say you were busy during the day? I had no choice but to look for you at night. Why didn't your fiancé come to pick you up? Xia Dong knew that he was upset because Lu Xing had stopped him. She smiled. Brother Xin has a social engagement tonight. Don't be angry. I'll treat you to supper. She waved her hand and motioned for Lu Xing to take 2 steps back and not follow him so closely. Bailey Yun saw her little gesture and felt much better. He snorted at Lu Xing proudly and said lazily, Well, since you're so sincere, I'll do you the honor of having supper with you. However, I'll have to choose the location. No problem, I'll listen to you. However, I only have an hour and a half, so I can't choose a place that's too far away. There was no housekeeper at home now, so she did not feel safe leaving the 2 children alone at home. Don't worry, it's very close. I'll drive. You can rest first. Bailey Yun snatched the car keys from her hand and drove the car over. Xia Dong sat in the passenger's seat, while Lu Xing squatted in the back seat as if she did not exist. Bailey Yun took her to a private restaurant. The environment was elegant and quiet. He had already reserved a private room and let her in with familiarity. The 2 of them ordered and Xia Dong asked, Fox, why are you looking for me? Bailey Yun blinked his fox-like eyes. I want to introduce you to a friend. Who is it? He looked at his watch. Wait for another 10 minutes. He'll be here soon. Before their dishes were served, the friend that Bailey Yun was talking about arrived. Although he was not as handsome as Bailey Yun, he had a gentle and elegant temperament, giving people a sense of trust at first sight. He smiled gently. Miss Xia, nice to meet you. My name is Linny, I'm Yun's friend. Xia Dong smiled and reached out her hand. Nice to meet you, Mr. Lin. I'm Fox's friend too. Fox. Linny looked at Bailey Yun with a smile. Yun, this nickname suits you very well. As cunning as a fox. Bailey Yun brushed the hair in front of his forehead and chuckled. I'll take it as a compliment. Xiaxia, don't be fooled by this guy's appearance. He's the blackest on the inside. Also, his personality is a little, twisted. Xiaodong, Linny smiled. Miss Xia, don't be scared by him. It's because I study psychology that this guy thinks I have a psychological problem. Of course, this is just his wishful thinking. Xiaodong looked at Bailey Yun meaningfully. Mr. Lin, I can only say that I sympathize with you. With Bailey Yun's glib tongue, how could a gentle person like Linny win against him? Linny smiled, his voice as gentle as jade. Bailey Yun smiled. Xia, that's where you're wrong. I'm the one who deserves your sympathy. You don't know that when we were in America, this guy liked to use me as a test subject every time he learned something new. For example, hypnotism, Linny countered calmly. Why don't you say that I treated you like a patient and persuaded you for hours just to pull you back to the right path? Xiaodong was curious. Mr. Lin, did Fox do something that led him astray? Linny cleared his throat. Bailey Yun jumped up from his chair and covered his mouth impatiently. Don't say it. Linny blinked and signaled for him to let go. He threatened again, don't say it or I'll kill you. All right, let's change the topic so that there won't be a murder. Xiaodong held back her laughter and helped Lin Yi out of the situation. Bailey Yun winked at Lin Yi after the crisis was resolved. The meaning was obvious. Don't say anything or I'll kill you. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows and replied with a look. That depends on my mood. Bailey Yun's face darkened and was about to explode when Xiaodong, who had been watching them flirt with each other, quickly said, I'm sorry to interrupt your flirting. I want to know, have you known each other for a long time? Who's flirting with that guy? Bailey Yun distanced himself from Lin Yi in disgust. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows in amusement. Don't call me that. I'm your senior. He looked at Xiaodong and explained, when I was in America, I went to the same university as Yun. In fact, we haven't seen each other for more than 5 years. If I didn't meet Yun at Bailey's house, I wouldn't have known that he was in a city. Bai Liyun seemed to have recalled something and smiled until his eyes narrowed into slits. Xiaxia, do you still remember the first time we met? You threw yourself into my arms. That day was the first day I returned to the country. Hey, I want to correct you. That was not throwing myself into your arms. I was just avoiding someone's pursuit. Xiaodong was speechless. At that time, Bailey Han was chasing her with bodyguards. She had no choice but to ask for his help. Bailey Yun crossed his arms and leaned against the chair leisurely. He shrugged nonchalantly. It's okay. I know you're shy. Xiaodong was speechless. Thank you for your understanding. Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows. Xia Linny is now a psychotherapist. Aren't you curious about who his latest patient is? Xiaodong's brain spun quickly and she was shocked. Mr. Lin, are you treating Bailey E? He mentioned that he went to Bailey's house. Linny smiled, his eyes gentle and wise. Yes. I heard from Yun that you've taken part in an autistic rehabilitation course, and you've learned quite a bit about it. It just so happens that my assistant took a wedding leave yesterday. If you're willing to replace her and work for me for half a month, I'd be very grateful. Xiaodong stared at him in disbelief for a few seconds. She suddenly looked at Bailey Yun. His charming eyes were smiling and he nodded at her gently. She immediately felt a surge of warmth in her heart. She pursed her lips and turned back to Lin Yi with a bright smile. Mr. Lin, thank you. You don't have to thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank that kid Yun. He said a lot of good things to me, Lin Yi said humorously. I think he said all the good things he's going to say to me in advance. Xiaodong knew that Bailey Yun must have put in a lot of effort to make her a temporary assistant. On the way home, she thanked him sincerely. Fox, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have the chance to meet Xiao Yi. Bai Liyun's lips curved up. Don't listen to Lin Yi's nonsense. His assistant is on leave and you have the knowledge in this area. If I introduce you to him, he'll be more than happy. Xiaodong knew that he said this because he didn't want her to feel burdened. She was even more grateful. He reminded her. Xia, from tomorrow onwards you'll be Lin Yi's assistant. I'm worried that Grandma and the others will recognize you and misunderstand you. It's best if you disguise yourself. Yes, I thought about that. I'll be careful. She had thought about how to disguise herself when they were eating. She had to make it so that no one could recognize her. She couldn't bring trouble to Lin Yi. Attention Hongcha 866. Chapter 139. Early the next morning, Bailey Han drove to the Su family home. After sending Su Yunqian to the hospital, he gave her a few more instructions before leaving. After he left, Su Yunqian dialed an unknown number. Xiaoxi, I've already arranged for the surgery. Come to the first hospital now, said Xiaoxi, who was the young woman whom she had bumped into outside the gynecology and obstetrics department the other day. Half an hour later, Xiaoxi appeared in front of Su Yunqian, wearing a cap and a surgical mask. Su Yunqian almost couldn't recognize her if she hadn't taken the initiative to greet her. Don't be afraid, no one will find out who you are. Let's go over now. Su Yunqian led Xiaoxi out of the hospital and hailed a taxi. After driving for a while, the taxi pulled over in front of an old building. They had arrived at a private clinic where the clinic would not ask for any information about the patients. As long as the patients were willing to pay, the clinic would perform the abortion procedure on them. The confidentiality of the procedure was very high. Of course, the fees charged here were much higher than those charged in official hospitals. Su Yunqian had already made an appointment with a doctor long ago. After Xiaoxi entered, she immediately lay down on the operating table. More than 2 hours later, she walked out of the operating theater with the help of the nurse, Mississippi. Her face was as pale as a sheet. Su Yunqian stopped playing games on her mobile phone and looked up at her. Can you still walk? Yes. Xiaoxi grabbed her handbag and cap from the rack and said, Miss Qin, let's find a place where we can talk. Su Yunqian did not tell Xiaoxi her real name and lied to her that her surname was Chen. When they made their way downstairs, Su Yunqian kindly held onto Xiaoxi's arm and she was extremely grateful for her help. In the quiet cafe, Xiaoxi took out the medical report from her handbag and pushed it towards Su Yunqian. Miss Qin, don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this. Su Yunqian calmly placed the medical report into her purse and retrieved a bank card from her wallet. I deposited some money into someone else's account. There's 10,000 yuan in here and the password is your mobile number. Xiaoxi, take good care of yourself. Women should treat themselves well. If you don't cherish yourself, who else will? Miss Qin, thank you. Lil, she grabbed the bank card with tears welling up in her reddened eyes, making her look extremely pitiful. Su Yunqian raised her brows slightly and said, Xiaoxi, we're fated to meet, so let me remind you. The man who impregnated you might not really love you. He didn't even accompany you during such an important surgery. Tears rolled down Xiaoxi's face and she sobbed, No, that's not it. I was humiliated. Hence, she was not looking forward to the arrival of this child at all. She did not dare to tell anyone about this matter, including her parents who loved her dearly. Su Yunqian was stunned. She had thought of many possibilities, but she did not expect this to be the case. She took out a piece of tissue and handed it to her. Just take it that you were bitten by a dog. You're still very young and you still have a long way to go. Women, you'll only be looked down upon by others when you're strong. Xiaoxi grabbed the tissue and stared blankly at her beautiful face. She smiled and said, Take care. Her slender waist swayed as she walked out of Xiaoxi's line of sight gracefully. Su Yunqian put on her sunglasses and hailed a taxi. Her slender fingers touched her handbag, and her lips curled into a smug smile. With this inspection report, she could ask someone to make it her own. In the old mansion in Bailey, the butler greeted Lin Yi and the others warmly. Dr. Lin, you're here. Please come in. This is? The butler turned to look at Xia Dong. Xia Dong was wearing a white shirt and a black work attire that hid her slender figure. Her shiny black hair was tied up in a bun and her neat fringe covered her smooth forehead. She wore a pair of black-framed glasses and her beautiful eyes were hidden behind the thick lenses. She looked very serious, just like a high school teacher who was patrolling around with a pointer. Lin Yi smiled and introduced her. This is my new assistant, Miss Yi. Xia Dong pushed her black-framed glasses up her nose bridge and said, Hello, I'm Yi. Nice to meet you. Yi was also Si. When she spoke, her voice was slightly hoarse. This was the effect of the pill that Xia Dong had gotten from Mika Keto. You flatter me. Dr. Lin, Miss Yi, this way please. The butler didn't pay too much attention to Xia Dong and led them to the second floor. Xia Dong was getting more and more nervous as they approached Bailey Yi's room. We're here. Please come in. The butler walked them to the door and waited for them to enter before closing the door and standing guard outside. Lin Yi glanced at Xia Dong. Her neat fringe and black-framed glasses covered half of her face, but he could see that she was nervous. Her eyes were fixed on Bailey Yi, who was sitting in front of the desk. Her hands were clenched into fists as if she was trying to hold something back. Lin Yi was surprised. She seemed to have some special feelings for Bailey Yi. When Bailey Yun asked him for help and offered this job to Xia Dong, he only said that Xia Dong was interested in autistic children and needed a job. Now, it seemed like there was more to it than meets the eye. He smiled and said gently, See, let's get to work. Xiaodong took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Okay. During the therapy, Xiaodong realized that Lin Yi was really an amazing therapist. He had a complete treatment plan for Xiao Yi. In the first 3 months of therapy, he mainly trained Xiao Yi to be able to sense the outside world. He wanted him to be able to receive information from the outside world, such as language, movement, color, shape, and even emotions. When she saw Xiao Yi smile in the interactive game, her heart almost melted. Lin Yi patted his head gently and praised with a smile. Xiao Yi is really a genius. You only took 2 minutes to solve this riddle. Xiao Yi didn't say anything, but the light in his eyes shone even brighter. 1.5 hours passed quickly. It meant that the therapy for the day was about to end. Lin Yi looked up at Xiaodong. Throughout the therapy, her eyes were on Xiao Yi. That kind of loving gaze made even him think that she was Xiao Yi's mother. Xiaodong felt Lin Yi's probing gaze and quickly looked away. Her expression was slightly flustered. Lin Yi smiled. "See, please take out the jiuquan rings for me." Okay. Xiaodong took out the jiuquan rings from the box Lin Yi brought with him and handed it to him. "See, give this to Xiao Yi." Okay. Nervousness gripped her heart. She squatted down and looked at Xiao Yi at eye level. She held the jiuquan rings in front of him. "Xiao Yi, this is the jiuquan rings." Bailey Yi ignored her, raising his head to look at Lin Yi as if to ask him why he had given him the 9 rings. Lin Yi smiled. "If you can solve the jiuquan rings in 2.5 minutes, I'll take you out to play for a day." Bailey Yi's eyes flashed. "Are you willing to accept the challenge?" This was faster than the Guinness World Record. It was impossible for a normal child to achieve this goal in such a short time, but Xiao Yi was different. His IQ was many times higher than other children his age. Bailey Yi lowered his eyes as if thinking. 2 seconds later, he reached out his small hand and took the jiuquan rings from Xiaodong. Lin Yi smiled gently. "Xiao Yi, I hope that one day I can hear you say, 'Okay, I accept the challenge,'" in a proud voice. Bailey Yi didn't respond to Lin Yi's words. All his attention was on the jiuquan rings. The rings were small and delicate, very suitable for children. His soft fingers moved quickly, and the rings made a crisp knocking sound. "Xiao Yi, I'll see you in 2 days. I'm looking forward to your performance." Lin Yi patted his head. Xiaodong looked at him reluctantly and followed Lin Yi out of the Bailey house. Lin Yi smiled gently in the car. "Where do you live? I'll send you back." Xiaodong paused. "Don't you have work in the afternoon?" Lin Yi tilted his head to look at her, a teasing smile on his face. "Yun has already told me that you'll only be my assistant when I go to House Bailey for outpatient treatment. He also specifically told me not to do anything to you." Xiaodong was embarrassed. Mr. Lin Yun was joking. "Please don't take it to heart. I'm your temporary assistant now. If I'm absent, I'll cause trouble for you. Don't worry. I'm only at the Bailey house. When I'm at the clinic, I can handle it myself." He smiled. "So, don't worry and go do your work. I'll see you in 2 days." Lin Yi would only treat Bailey Yi every 2 days. "Thank you so much." Xiaodong was so grateful that she didn't know what to say. At the same time, she was also grateful to Bailey Yun in her heart. Xiaodong had to pretend to be 2 people in 1 day and appear at the Bailey house. It was a little stressful. She changed into a plain floral dress. Her long hair was curled into big waves and fell over her shoulders. Her fringe was combed to the side, revealing her smooth forehead and willowy eyebrows. After taking off her black-rimmed glasses, her eyes were bright. She was worried that the housekeeper would recognize her, so she put on some light makeup to make herself look more attractive. Although the housekeeper took a second look at her because of her beautiful makeup, he didn't associate her with the rigid Yi Si. Xiaodong saw with her own eyes that Xiao Yi's condition was getting better in the morning. Even if she couldn't see him now, her mood was much calmer. After greeting the servants, she went to the garden to take a stroll. Bailey's garden was very beautiful and it took up a lot of space. She found a lounge chair under the shade of a tree and lay down leisurely. The cool breeze blew and it was very comfortable. She couldn't help but close her eyes and put her hands on her stomach habitually. She was already more than 2 months pregnant and was a little sleepy. Lying here comfortably made her sleepy. Just as she was about to fall asleep, she heard footsteps. She opened her eyes and saw Bailey Han holding Su Yunqian's arm walking towards her. Attention Xingwu 799. Chapter 140. Standing together, they really looked like a perfect couple. Watching them walk over, Xiaodong couldn't help but recall the scene of them walking down the red carpet hand in hand during the wedding rehearsal. "Miss Ya, how have you been?" Su Yunqian spoke first with a gentle smile. Bailey Han let go of Su Yunqian's arm and frowned. Why aren't you in the living room? It was so hot outside. Wasn't she afraid of getting sunburned? Xia Dong had already stood up from the recliner and smiled lightly. I thought it was beautiful outside, so I came out for a walk. If you have something to do, don't worry about me. I'll look around. Bailey Han was a workaholic. He was rarely late and left early. Coming back so early and with Su Yunqian, he must have something to deal with. Bailey Han nodded and held Su Yunqian's arm with one hand as they walked to the living room. Xia Dong lay down again. Just as she was about to fall asleep, Yi Lu jogged over. Miss Xia, young master asked me to serve you. Are you thirsty? Do you like tea or other drinks? Xia Dong thought for a moment. Please give me a glass of orange juice. Thank you. Okay, please wait a moment. Xiao Lu quickly brought her a glass of fresh orange juice. She also held a fan in her hand. After placing the orange juice on the wooden table, she stood beside her and gently fanned her. Xia Dong quickly grabbed her hand. No need, Xiao Lu. I'm not hot. Miss Xia, you don't have to be polite with me. This is young master's order. She was shocked when young master suddenly asked the butler to call her over from the kitchen. She thought she had done something wrong. She didn't expect young master to ask her to chat with Miss Xia to relieve her boredom and serve her. Xia Dong was both amused and speechless. Bailey Han, the host, was really enthusiastic. He was afraid that she, a guest, would be neglected. On the other side, Bailey Han and Su Yunqian entered the study and sat opposite the old madam. Bailey Han said, Yunqian, grandma is here now. You can speak now. In the morning, he sent Su Yunqian to the hospital for a checkup. In the afternoon, he received a call from her, saying that the results of the checkup were out, but she wanted to tell the results in front of the old lady. Su Yunqian's charming cheeks were dyed with a touch of red as she embarrassedly said, Han, I'm not deliberately keeping you in suspense. I just don't know how to say it. The old madam smiled. What are you doing? Why are you being so secretive? Yunqian, if you have anything to say, just say it. Grandma will help you. Su Yunqian bit her lip. Finally, under her expectant gaze, she said softly, Grandma, I'm pregnant. Pregnant? The old madam looked at Bailey Han in astonishment. She knew that her eldest grandson had always been restrained and courteous. When did the two of them develop to this point? Bailey Han's breathing suddenly stopped. His deep eyes were filled with shock and his heart was in a mess. She was actually pregnant that night. Xiao Yi had not recovered yet, and she had not been cleared of suspicion. She was actually pregnant. Even when he was 16 years old and alone on an isolated island to survive, he did not feel this way. He was helpless and at a loss. It was as if a strong hand had grabbed his heart, making it difficult for him to breathe, and his blood flow was not smooth. Su Yunqian took out the checkup report from her bag and placed it in front of them. I'm 7 weeks pregnant. Bailey Han took the checkup report. It was clearly written on it that she was 7 weeks pregnant. No wonder she felt nauseous. It was a pregnancy reaction. After a while, he said in a hoarse voice, Yunqian, I don't want this child. No, Han, you can't do this to me. Su Yunqian's face instantly paled. She said agitatedly, Han, this is our child. Do you remember what you promised me? You said that you would give birth to the child if you were pregnant. How can you say that you don't want the child now? Tears welled up in her beautiful eyes. She grabbed his arm and begged, Han, let me give birth to the child, okay? Bailey Han's body stiffened. His deep eyes had a complicated expression. He held her hand. Yunqian, I'm sorry. Xiao Yi is suffering from autism now. I don't have the energy to take care of another child. Also, I don't want Xiao Yi to think that I'm giving up on him. Then you're heartlessly abandoning our child? He's already 7 weeks pregnant. Su Yunqian stroked her abdomen with heartache. No matter what happens to us, the child is innocent. I beg you, let him live. She cried so miserably that tears rolled down her face. Bailey Han frowned. He wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by the old madam's sudden slamming of the table. The old madam glared at Bailey Han. Han, what do you mean you don't want the child? Since Yunqian is pregnant, you have to take responsibility. Marry her and let her give birth to the child. Although Bailey Han felt guilty, he insisted on his opinion. Grandma, Xiao Yi's illness has just improved. If I marry Yunqian now, it will definitely agitate him. The old madam's expression stiffened. She sighed. I know, but Yunqian is pregnant now. If you let an unmarried woman like her have an abortion, what will happen to her reputation? We, the Bailey family, can't do such an immoral thing. At worst, you can get the marriage certificate first. As for the wedding, wait until Xiao Yi recovers. Yunqian's child needed a legal identity. Su Yunxian sobbed pitifully. Bailey Han looked at her like this. He felt heartache and guilt, and his heart almost softened. However, when he thought of the thrilling scene when Xiaoyi fell down the stairs, he hardened his heart. Grandma, I don't agree. I won't get married for the time being. The child can't be kept. Bailey Han said the last 3 words with difficulty. His heart ached fiercely and he felt guilty. Compared to the unborn child, he cared more about Xiaoyi. Bailey Han, you're so cruel. Since you don't want to marry me, then the child has nothing to do with you. Even if people laugh at me, I want to give birth to the child. Don't worry, I won't use the child to ask you for anything. She grabbed the checklist from the table and angrily crumpled it into a ball. She suddenly got up and ran to the door. Yunxian, the old madam picked up her walking stick and anxiously leaned on the floor. Ahan, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and chase after her. She's pregnant now. What if something happens? Bailey Han pursed his thin lips and stood there for more than 10 seconds. He suddenly turned around and chased after her. The old madam leaned on the floor and sighed. Sigh, how did things turn out like this? Xia Dong was leisurely chatting with little Lu when Su Yunxian suddenly ran past them. She covered half of her face and looked very sad. Just as she ran past, Bailey Han quickly chased after her. Thus, Xia Dong and little Lu witnessed a dramatic scene. Bailey Han grabbed Su Yunxian's wrist from behind. Su Yunxian wanted to shake him off, but she didn't succeed. Instead, she was pulled into his arms. Xia Dong coughed awkwardly. Well, little Lu, it's about time. I'll go to the living room and wait for Xiao Bao. I should go back to the kitchen to work. Little Lu cooperated and helped her up. The two of them quickly left the place. Su Yunxian struggled and pushed Bailey Han's chest. Let go of me. I don't want you to care about me. Yunxian, stop it. Bailey Han didn't know what to say. He could only hug her tighter. You're pregnant. Don't be too emotional. Didn't you say you don't want this child? Why do you care so much about me? Something happens to me, you should be happy. Don't say things out of anger. I know I'm in the wrong. Bailey Han gently patted her back, trying to calm her down. Yunxian, let's calm down first and think about what to do, okay? She choked. I'm very calm. I insist on keeping the child. Bailey Han was silent for a moment. Yunxian, give me another half a month. If things still don't turn for the better, we'll get the marriage certificate first. She looked at him expectantly, her hand grasping his arm. What about the child? He didn't say what she wanted to hear as what she wanted to hear. Instead, he softened his voice. Yunxian, we can still have children in the future. No, it's different. Every child is an angel bestowed by God to their parents. They're all unique. No matter how many children we have in the future, they won't be him. Tears quickly gathered in her eyes. Her weak appearance was heartbreaking. His heart suddenly ached. That was his child. Although it was only a month old, they were still connected by flesh and blood. His originally firm thoughts began to waver. He hugged her tightly and said in a low voice, Give me some more time. Let me think about it. Okay, I'll give you time. Think about it carefully. I'm tired. Take me home. She slowly let go of his waist. She was weak and tired. On the balcony on the 2nd floor, the two little guys saw the scene through binoculars. Xiao Bao threw the binoculars aside and sighed. Although I can't hear what they're saying, I'm guessing it's not something good. Xiaoyi didn't answer. He also threw the binoculars aside, but his eyes became serious. Xiao Bao patted his shoulder. Bailey, let me remind you. You have to quickly think of a way to find out what's going on. Otherwise, when their old feelings reignite, you'll be crying your eyes out. Yesterday, Bailey Han was still cold and indifferent towards Su Yunxian. When Su Yunxian was sick, the old madam had to suppress Bailey Han to visit her. What exactly happened? Overnight, Bailey Han started to pull Su Yunxian again? Xiao Bao rubbed his chin as he thought hard. The adult's emotional world was really complicated. Bailey wasn't anxious at all. He picked up the 9 consecutive rings from the table and started to untie them. His indifferent expression made Xiao Bao go crazy. Forget it. If the emperor isn't anxious, why should I worry about it? You play by yourself. I'm going downstairs to find my mommy. Xiao Bao ran away angrily. Ad Hongcha 866. Chapter 141. Xiao Bao ran off in a huff. Xiaoyi used 5 minutes to undo the 9 consecutive rings and threw them aside. He straightened his little body and went upstairs to look for his grandmother. Old Madam was still worried sick at heart when a soft little body fell into her arms. She looked down and was immediately surprised and happy. Her eyes stung. "Oh, my little sweetheart, why did you think of going upstairs to look for great-grandmother?" Ever since she developed autism, this was the first time Xiao Yi took the initiative to get close to her. How could she not be surprised? She picked him up from the ground and placed him on her lap. She stroked his hair with her aged hand and guided him patiently. "Baby Yi, tell great-grandma. Do you miss great-grandma?" Xiao Yi's little head nodded gently. Baby Yi was willing to communicate with her. The old madam's eyes immediately moistened. She hugged him tightly and choked with sobs. Good boy, good boy." If Ahan knew that Xiao Yi could understand what they were saying and was even willing to respond, he would definitely be very happy. This thought flashed across the old madam's mind. However, immediately after, she recalled Su Yunqian's pregnancy. Worry surged into her heart again and she couldn't help but sigh. However, her sleeve was tugged. Xiao Yi stared at her with sparkling eyes. His little head was tilted and he looked confused and worried. The old madam smiled kindly and stroked his head. "Great-grandma is fine. If Baby Yi is willing to talk to great-grandma will be even happier." Xiao Yi's big clear eyes blinked. Suddenly she reached out and pointed at the photo on the desk. In the photo, Bailey Han was carrying Xiao Yi. The father and son's expressions were exactly the same, solemn and serious. The old madam chuckled and said, "What's wrong? Do you miss your daddy? He just came back but left again. When he comes back tonight he will accompany you well." Xiao Yi nodded sensibly. Her precious little great-grandson had finally taken a turn for the better. The old madam was filled with emotions. The grandmother and grandson sat side by side on the sofa, each holding a book in their hands. The old lady turned her head to look at the little one beside her from time to time. His expression seemed to be a little sad. She leaned forward in surprise and found that he was reading Oliver Twist. The plot was about how Oliver lost his mother when he was just born and was sent to an orphanage. She reached out and stroked his hair, saying gently, although Oliver was an orphan, he met his maternal grandfather in the end. His maternal grandfather loved him very much, just like how great-grandmother loved Baby Yi. Xiao Yi looked up at her, her clear eyes sparkling. She smiled and hugged him, taking the book from his hands. "Great-grandma knows this story. Great-grandma will tell you, okay?" He nodded Gigai. His pink cheeks puffed up slightly, and two cute little dimples were embedded in them. The old madam's gentle voice rang in the study. After she finished telling the story, she couldn't help but be filled with emotions. She stroked Xiao Yi's hair, testing his thoughts. "Baby Yi, do you want another person to love you?" Xiao Yi pursed his lips and tilted his head to look at her seriously, as if he didn't understand what she was trying to say. She smiled. "If Auntie Yunqian lived with us and loved you like great-grandmother, would you like that?" He fell silent. Just when the old madam thought that he wouldn't respond, he suddenly jumped out of her arms and ran to the front of the desk. He wiggled his butt and climbed onto the chair, taking the photo of him and Bailey Han from the desk into his arms. His cheeks were puffed up, and his eyes were round, revealing a guarded and angry expression. His actions and expression said everything. He didn't want Su Yunqian to steal his daddy away. The old madam's smile froze. She hesitated for a moment and carefully probed. Then if Xiao Yi had a younger brother like Xiao Bao or a cute younger sister like Xiao Guai, would Xiao Yi be happy? Xiao Yi was stunned and seemed to be at a loss. Then tears quickly gathered in his eyes and fell down like beads. He didn't cry or howl. He just cried quietly. His heartbroken look made the old madam's heart ache. She quickly pulled him into her arms. "Baby Yi, don't cry. Don't cry. Let's not have a younger brother or sister. Baby Yi is the only one in the family, okay? Baby, don't cry. You're breaking great-grandmother's heart." When Bailey Han came back at night, he heard from the old madam that Xiao Yi was crying. He didn't feel good either. He walked into his son's room with complicated emotions. Xiao Yi, who had just gotten better, seemed to be sealed in his own world again. He refused to let the servants near him and refused to let light in the room. All the windows were tightly covered by curtains. Bailey Han walked into the room and suddenly entered a dark world. He could only see a trace of light in the middle of the room. A small shadow sat in front of the light. He had just turned on the light when he heard his son's shrill scream. He had no choice but to turn it off quickly. He walked behind his son and saw that he was holding a small laptop and watching a video. Bailey Han's eyes swept across the video. His eyebrows twitched. The room in the video was too familiar. It was his own room. In the video, he and Yunqian were watching a movie on the sofa. Then Yunqian went into the bathroom to take a shower while he went downstairs to take a shower. A few seconds later, Yunqian suddenly walked out of the bathroom. She took something out of her handbag, opened the red wine bottle, and put the thing in. Bailey Han's heart suddenly tightened. A thought suddenly entered his mind. A small figure suddenly appeared in the video. He was holding a bottle of red wine and climbed onto the chair with difficulty. He replaced the bottle of red wine with something. Bailey Han suddenly turned his head and stared at his son sitting next to him with dark eyes. He tried hard to control his emotions and didn't want to scare him, but, damn it! His son actually installed a surveillance camera in his room. He frantically and angrily searched his brain to see if he had done anything that was inappropriate for children. Although there were some scenes that made his face blush and his heart beat faster, at least it was under control. Even so, Bailey Han's cheeks were still a little hot. Fortunately, it was dark and his son couldn't see it. Concerns flashed through his mind and several thoughts leaped into his mind. He was both shocked and in disbelief. Through this video he could deduce that Xuanhuan wanted to drug him that night, but his son replaced it with sleeping pills. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suddenly fallen asleep in the middle of the night. In the dark, the father and son sat in front of the computer in silence. After some time, Bailey Han placed his hands on Xiao Yi's shoulders and said with an unprecedented sternness, "Xiao Yi, stop your peeping immediately. I'll let bygones be bygones. If I find out about it again in the future, I'll punish you without mercy." Xiao Yi ignored him and didn't respond at all. Bailey Han thought about his current situation and his tone softened a little. "Xiao Yi, delete all these things. If they leak out, it will cause a negative impact." Xiao Yi's fingers moved a few times and the video was completely deleted. Bailey Han rubbed his hair to show his affirmation. "Xiao Yi, did you put sleeping pills in the red wine?" He nodded. His guess was confirmed. Bailey Han frowned. He had fallen asleep, so nothing must have happened between him and Xuanhuan. Did she really lie to him? Too many things had happened today. Bailey Han needed to calm down. Bailey Han sat alone on the recliner on the balcony. Facing the bright starry sky, he slowly closed his eyes and put aside all his personal feelings. He began to calmly and rationally sort out the series of events. A moment later, his eyes suddenly opened. His deep eyes were filled with coldness. He took out his phone and dialed the number of his family doctor, Suzha. "Suzha, do you know any Chinese medicine practitioners? I would like to ask you for a favor." Asterisk. In the middle of the night, Xia Dong suddenly woke up. Her forehead was full of sweat. She was still in shock and turned on the bedside lamp. She glanced at the clock. It was only 1 o'clock in the morning. She dreamed that she had given birth. Lying on the hospital bed, she was in so much pain that she was about to faint. After giving birth with great difficulty, the doctor brought the child to her. It turned out to be a deformed child with atrophied limbs. She stroked her abdomen with both hands in fear. As the pregnancy grew longer, the worry in her heart grew deeper. She didn't know if the medicine she injected would affect the child's development. She couldn't fall asleep after changing several positions. She unkindly dialed Yisiki's phone. The phone rang for a long time before it finally got through. Yisiki's irritable voice pierced through the air. "Xia Dong." Xia Dong quickly moved the phone away from her ear and laughed. "Yezi, sorry to disturb your rest. Get lost. You better have something serious to say. Otherwise, I'll crawl out of your phone and strangle you." Yisiki was worried that she would wake her husband up, so she went to the living room after answering the phone. "Then hurry up and crawl over. I need you to comfort me. What's wrong?" Yisiki caught the change in her mood and pricked up his ears. Xia Dong touched her abdomen. "I just had a nightmare. I dreamed that I gave birth to a deformed child." Yisiki paused and softened his voice. "Don't think too much. Even our Shihao said that although the medicine will affect the fetus, you didn't absorb much of it, so it shouldn't be a problem." "But the medicine is very strong," Yisiki interrupted her. Xia, listen to me. It's useless to worry about these things now. Whether the child is deformed or not, you have to give birth to it for Xiao Guai's sake." Xia Dong leaned against the pillow dejectedly. Siki was right. Worrying about these things now was a waste of energy. Even if the fetus was affected by the medicine and became deformed, she had to give birth to it. Xia, don't think too much. What you need to do now is to take care of your body. I'm planning to take Nyonyo to the aquarium this weekend. Do you want to bring Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai along? Xia Dong smiled. Okay, then we've made an appointment. Hurry up and go to sleep. I'm fine now. Are you really fine? I'm really fine. Just treat it as my prenatal depression acting up. I'm full of energy now. Xingwu 799. Chapter 142. Han, why did we stop here? Didn't you say we were going to an art exhibition? In the car, Su Yunxian looked out of the window in surprise. They were now parked opposite a traditional Chinese medicine hall. Grandma hasn't been sleeping well recently. I heard that this traditional Chinese medicine hall has an exclusive secret prescription for insomnia. Bailey Han opened the door for her. In the traditional Chinese medicine hall, there was a gray-haired old doctor in charge. Bailey Han told him what he needed, and the old doctor asked the young doctor to take out a package of Chinese medicine. Bailey Han grabbed Su Yunxian's wrist and said with a smile, "Yunxian, didn't you have a pregnancy reaction, nausea, and a bad appetite? Let Dr. Su take a look at you." Su Yunxian's eyes flashed with a flash of panic. "No, I'm fine today. Yunxian, pregnancy is a big deal. You can't be careless. Gigai, listen to me and let Dr. Su take a look." Bailey Han smiled very gently. He held her shoulders. It seemed gentle, but his strength was very strong. She couldn't resist at all and was forced to sit on the stool opposite Dr. Su. "Madam, please stretch out your right hand." Dr. Su smiled kindly. Su Yunxian's face changed. She hesitated and refused to stretch out her hand. "Dr. Su, I'm fine. I won't trouble you." She wanted to get up, but Bailey Han stood behind her. He held her shoulders with both hands and slowly pressed her down. He smiled gently. "Yunxian, Dr. Su is known as a gynecologist. If you want him to treat you, you have to make an appointment half a month in advance. Don't be childish. Let Dr. Su treat you quickly." "Han," Su Yunxian was flustered and didn't know what to say. "All right, stop messing around." The smile on Bailey Han's face was devoid of any warmth, making people shudder. He pressed her shoulders with one hand and suddenly grabbed her right hand with the other hand and put it on the table. "Dr. Su, please." Dr. Su touched his beard with one hand and felt Su Yunxian's pulse with the other. Su Yunxian looked at Dr. Su, whose eyes were slightly closed. Every second felt like a year. When she saw him suddenly open his eyes, she was shocked. Her momentary panic and loss of composure fell into Bailey Han's eyes. The smile on his face faded as he politely asked, "Dr. Su, how is it?" Su Yunxian's heart was in her throat. Dr. Su said slowly, "Mr. Bailey, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Your wife is not pregnant." Bailey Han's eyes narrowed. His sharp gaze instantly shifted to the pale Su Yunxian. However, it was only for a short second before he regained his courteous appearance. He smiled and nodded at Dr. Su. "Dr. Su, thank you for your hard work. However, I have to correct one thing. Miss Su is not my wife." Su Yunxian felt as if her heart had fallen into an ice cellar. She still wanted to make a final struggle. Her face was filled with disbelief. "How could this be? I did an ultrasound at the hospital. The doctor clearly said that I'm 7 weeks pregnant." Dr. Su frowned and was a little unhappy. "Miss Su, I've been practicing medicine for more than 70 years, and I've never made a mistake. Whether you're pregnant or not, I'll know by taking your pulse." Bailey Han glanced at her indifferently. His gaze was as cold as iron. She suddenly trembled, and the words that she wanted to say were all suppressed. She didn't know how she followed Bailey Han out of the clinic. When she came back to her senses, she was already in the car. Bailey Han's face was cold as he started the car without a word. Su Yunxian looked at his side profile and only saw a pair of malicious and cold eyes. She called his name softly. "Han," he said calmly, "Yunxian, I didn't expect you to lie to me." Su Yunxian was shocked. She knew his temper very well. The angrier he was, the calmer he would be. She quickly said, "No, I didn't. Han, there must be something wrong. Let's go to another hospital and have a proper examination, okay?" "Something wrong?" His voice was so calm that it was almost emotionless. "Do you mean that the ultrasound in the hospital made a mistake, or that Dr. Su made a mistake in taking your pulse? Dr. Su is not a god. How can he know whether I'm pregnant just by taking my pulse?" Tears gathered in her eyes. She looked so pitiful, but unfortunately he didn't look at her at all. Bailey Han said lightly, "Okay, then let's go to the hospital for another examination. Let's go to the first hospital. I have Dr. Zhang's phone number so we can make an appointment in advance." "No, let's go to another hospital." Bailey Han didn't choose the first hospital where she did the examination last time. Instead, he changed directions and drove to the City People's Hospital. He booked the number of Lin Shihao, the director of obstetrics and gynecology. There weren't many people in the obstetrics and gynecology department today. There were only 2 people in front of Su Yunxian. As time passed, her heart was in a mess and she didn't know how to deal with it. Bailey Han received work-related calls from time to time. He walked to the corridor to answer them. Su Yunqian's eyes moved and she had an idea. She quickly sent a text message to her mother on her cell phone. When it was almost Su Yunqian's turn to go in, Bailey Han received a call from old madam. He looked at the closed office door and pressed the answer button. When the nurse called Su Yunqian's name, Bailey Han was still talking to old madam. Su Yunqian hurried into Lin Shihao's office. Lin Shihao was the only one in the office. She went straight to the point and said, "Dr. Lin, I have a favor to ask of you." She quickly filled out a check and pushed it in front of Lin Shihao. "As long as you say that I'm 7 weeks pregnant, it's yours." Lin Shihao glanced at the check. There were 6 zeros on it. It was indeed a big temptation. He might not be able to earn so much money even if he was a doctor for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, he wasn't interested in this. He just wanted to be a responsible doctor. He said lightly, "I'm sorry, I can't help you with this." Su Yunqian gritted her teeth. "This is only half of the reward. I'll pay you the other half after it's done." His lips curled into a mocking smile. "Miss Su, if you're here to see a doctor, I welcome you. If it's something else, please don't disturb my work." Lin Shihao, you should know the Su family's influence in City A. Since the temptation failed, Su Yunqian began to threaten him. She lowered her voice and her eyes were filled with bone-chilling coldness. There was a knock on the door. "Please come in." Su Yunqian quickly grabbed the check and didn't forget to threaten Lin Shihao with her eyes. The door opened and Bailey Han walked in. His tall figure slowly walked over, giving Su Yunqian an inexplicable sense of oppression. He said lightly, "Dr. Lin, I'm the patient's fiancé. How's the checkup?" Lin Shihao recognized Bailey Han the moment he walked in. He was the man Xia Dong had secretly implanted. He didn't expect him to bring his fiancée here for a pregnancy checkup. What a coincidence. Lin Shihao smiled and said, "We're about to start. Miss Su, please lie down on the bed." With Bailey Han present, Su Yunqian didn't dare to threaten Lin Shihao openly. She could only hint at him with her eyes. Unfortunately, he ignored her threatening eyes and calmly announced the results of the checkup. "Miss Su, you're very healthy. You're not pregnant." In the hospital garden, Bailey Han and Su Yunqian sat side by side on a bench. Bailey Han said lightly, "Now what else do you want to say?" She hugged his arm. "I really don't know how this happened. Han, you have to believe me." He pushed her hand away bit by bit and said in a bone-chilling voice, "Don't lie to me anymore. Yunqian, that night you drugged the red wine. Unfortunately, Xiaoyi found out and Xiaoyi replaced your red wine with a red wine with sleeping pills. After that, I fell asleep. Actually, nothing happened that night." "No, that's not it. We already had sex. Han, you also saw the bloodstains on the sheets." Su Yunqian's heart had never been so flustered. Damn it, how did Bailey Yi know that she had drugged him? Bailey Han rubbed his temples. "You must have cut your finger and smeared the blood on the sheets. You know this better than I do, don't you? Yunqian, don't quibble anymore. I've already seen the video of you drugging him." Her face was pale and her shoulders slumped. She covered her face with her hands and cried helplessly. "Han, I'm sorry. I just love you too much. I was afraid that you would leave me. I thought that as long as I had your child, I would be able to hold on to your heart." Bailey Han didn't hug her and comfort her as usual. His trust in her was shattered by her own hands. Their relationship that was full of lies started to make him feel tired, painful, and deeply hurt. He armed himself with indifference. "Su Yunqian, you disappoint me too much." It was the first time he called her by her full name. It seemed that he was really disappointed in her. She hurriedly grabbed his arm and cried without caring about her image. Don't go. I beg you, Han, forgive me just this once. I was just confused for a moment. I really was confused for a moment." He didn't turn back and only said coldly, "Did Xiaoyi fall down the stairs because of you?" "No, I didn't." Su Yunqian denied repeatedly. "Han, I've only lied once. Let's start over, okay?" He frowned. "I forgot that I shouldn't believe what you say anymore. I'm already very tired. Let's break up." She cried very sadly. "We've been in love for 6 years. Han, how can you break up just like that?" He stared at her coldly. "You should know that I don't like scheming women." If it was in the past, he would still feel guilty when he mistakenly thought that he had taken her. But now he didn't even feel a little guilty. 6 years of feelings and 5 years of waiting. He waited for her to return from England and thought that their relationship would blossom. He didn't expect so many twists and turns. He also didn't expect that the woman he loved deeply would become like this. He was very disappointed and heartbroken. He resolutely shook off her arm. Su Yunxian was caught off guard and almost fell to the ground. She staggered 2 steps and steadied herself by supporting herself on the edge of the chair. Bailey Han didn't turn back and strode away. Beauty novel Song Shu 566. Chapter 143. Bailey Han was extremely disappointed in Su Yunxian. No matter if she called or went to his office or home to look for him, he refused to meet her. What he didn't know was that Su Yunxian wouldn't let him go so easily. On Saturday, Xia Dong acted as Yi Si's assistant and went to Bailey's house with Lin Yi. Before she left, she dressed herself up and made herself look old-fashioned and serious. The 2 brats rested their heads on their hands as they watched her fiddle with the clothes, commenting from time to time. Xiao Guai pouted. "Mommy, you look so weird. You look like an old auntie who can't get married." Xiao Bao knocked on Xiao Guai's forehead. "Diga, you're so stupid. Mommy is an old auntie who can't get married." Xia Dong turned around and rolled her eyes at them. "Who said I can't get married? My suitors are lining up from here to the Pacific Ocean." Xiao Bao sneered. "Mommy, if you keep bragging you'll be exposed." Xiao Guai giggled. "Big brother, you're wrong. It's not that Mommy can't get married. Mommy doesn't want to get married." Xia Dong was moved to tears. She hugged her daughter. "Daughters are really more caring than sons. I didn't waste my efforts to have a daughter." Xiao Bao rolled his eyes. "Mommy, do you need me to remind you that it's already 8:20? There's only 40 minutes left before you have to go to work." "Ah, Dr. Lin must have been waiting for a long time. I'm going now. Bye, babies." After some chaos, Xia Dong finally left. Xiao Guai watched her mommy leave like a gust of wind. "Big brother, I suddenly feel like we're so happy." Xiao Bao was curious. "What?" "That's because mommy is the ever-changing Sakura. One moment she's a strong woman and the next moment she's like us. She's like a little kid. It's so interesting." Xiao Guai laughed happily. "That's true, Hua." Xiao Bao held her hand. "Digai, let's go. Big brother will teach you how to draw." When his mother was not around, as the only man in the family, he had to shoulder the heavy responsibility of taking care of his sister. Xia Dong ran downstairs and found Bailey Yun leaning against the Lamborghini in a cool pose, waiting for her. "Fox, why are you here?" Xia Dong was curious why Lu Xing did not stop him. She looked around and did not see Lu Xing. She guessed that what she said to Mika Keto last time was effective. "I'm sending you to work. When you get off work, I'll take you to eat something delicious." Bailey Yun blinked his foxy eyes and flicked the hair in front of his forehead. He looked so charming. Xia Dong got into the car and Bailey Yun drove off. She quickly grabbed the handrail, her face pale. "What's wrong? I thought you weren't afraid of racing?" She still looked so heroic when she won the motorcycle racing championship. She covered her mouth. "Don't drive so fast. I want to vomit." Bailey Yun panicked when he heard her. He quickly slowed down and turned to ask her. "How are you? Do you feel better?" Xia Dong took a deep breath. "I'm much better." He frowned. "Are you not feeling well? I'll call Lin Yi and tell him that you're not going with him. I'll take you to the hospital." She quickly stopped him. "No, it's okay. I didn't sleep well last night, so I felt a little nauseous. I'm fine now." He looked at her suspiciously. "Are you really fine?" "I'm really fine. I can even go up the mountain and kill a tiger." Xia Dong patted her chest proudly. Bailey Yun looked at where she was pointing and suddenly burst out laughing. "It's been so many years. Why haven't you developed?" Xia Dong was angry. Even if she wasn't as voluptuous as the sexy goddess, she was still very voluptuous. She was very voluptuous. Okay. I'm just joking. Did you hurt your pride?" Bailey Yun saw that someone was angry and quickly freed his hand to smooth her hair. He stroked her hair like how he stroked Lil P. "Don't be angry. I was just saying." Xia Dong turned her head and ignored him. "What a hardcore guy. Yo, you're really angry? Look at your puffy face. It's like a bun. I really want to pinch it." This guy really did what he said and rubbed her face like a bun. Xia Dong slapped the back of his hand and said angrily, "My face is not a bun. No matter how much you rub it, there's no filling. Focus on driving. You're so annoying." They were bickering when they arrived at Lin Yi's clinic. Lin Yi had already checked his watch twice when he saw Bailey Yun escorting Xiaxia upstairs like a protector. He couldn't help but tease, "So you're the one who sent Xia Dong. No wonder she's late. Xia Dong, why didn't Mr. Beitang send you here last time?" Bailey Yun immediately exploded and yelled at Lin Yi. "Old Lin, are you my friend or not? How can you take revenge like this?" Lin Yi put on his coat and prepared to go out. "Of course I'm your friend. It's commonly known as a bad friend. *CK off. Bailey Yun didn't hold back and kicked his butt. Unfortunately, handsome Linny was agile and nimble and dodged. Xia Dong pretended that she didn't see anything and said calmly, "Dr. Lin, I'm ready. We can go now." Bailey Yun wanted to go with them and insisted that Xia Dong sit in his car. Linny said faintly, "Letting Xia Dong sit in your car? Is she your assistant?" Bailey Yun gritted his teeth and secretly warned himself that he must remind Lin Yi a few more times to not have any ideas about Xia Dong. Since it was Saturday, Bailey Han didn't have to go to the company. When they arrived, he was also at home. Xia Dong was worried that he would recognize her. Fortunately, he only glanced at her and didn't say anything. He led them upstairs directly. Today's rehabilitation treatment went smoothly. After it was over, Lin Yi asked Xiao Yi about how he solved the 9 rings. Little Wingzi took out the 9 consecutive rings and Xia Dong helped him time it. Exactly 2.5 minutes later, Little Wingzi had unlocked all 9 rings. Lin Yi patted his shoulder in surprise. "So I wanted to find a job related to psychology. Applying to be Lin Yi's assistant was purely an accident. Do you think I'll believe you?" Bailey Han looked at her with disdain. "Even if you're interested in psychology, Lin Yi wouldn't hire a layman to be his assistant. Tell me, what's your purpose?" Wearing high heels was really tiring. Xia Dong sat down. "All right, I'll tell you the truth. I'm just concerned about your son. I want to know about his condition and treatment. So I asked Dr. Lin for help." He stared at her eyes. "Why are you so concerned about my son?" She looked back at him sincerely and said softly, "I like him a lot. Also, I feel that he makes my heart ache. Do you remember what you said when you asked me to bring Xiao Bao to visit him? You said that Xiao Yi doesn't have any friends. It was this sentence that moved me. I'm a mother. I can understand your helplessness as a father and your heartache for your child." His hand couldn't help but fall on the frame of her glasses. He took it off, wanting to see the things in her eyes more clearly. Beauty novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 144. Bailey Han's voice was a little hoarse. "Just because of motherly love, you disguised yourself and came to my house? Do you think I'll believe you?" Xia Dong smiled weakly. "You can choose not to believe me. You've been loved by your mother since you were young. You can't understand the thoughts of someone who lacks motherly love. I lost my mother when I was young. I was mocked and bullied. At that time, I thought that if I have children in the future, I must love them well. You're right, I have motherly love flowing." He was obviously her own child, but she couldn't hold him in her arms. She had to sneak into someone else's house like a spy and secretly observe his every move. When she was caught, she had to find an excuse to hide the truth. Who could understand her heartache? Her eyes were sparkling with tears, and her eyes were filled with grief. His heart clenched, and he could not help but think of Su Xingqian's voice recorder, where Xia Dong was bawling in front of her mother's grave. Perhaps what she said was true. His eyes were as dark as water. She wiped the corner of her eyes and smiled. "Don't stare at me like that. I can't help but want to cry. Look, I'm already crying. I'm sorry, I won't come again next time." The way she forced herself to smile actually made him feel a little distressed. He frowned. Damn it, why did he still have sympathy for this liar? He should have given up on her long ago. He thought in his heart, but the words that came out of his mouth were, "You're Lin Yi's assistant. You report to him about your work." Xia Dong grinned. "I know. I'll tell Lin Yi that I'm quitting later." Bailey Han's facial muscles twitched uncontrollably. Idiot, did she have to make it clear? His face darkened and he said stiffly, "Since you're already his assistant, you should do what you're supposed to do." Xia Dong couldn't believe it. You agree?" Bailey Han gritted his teeth. "Idiot. Wasn't it obvious?" She felt a little wronged. Who asked him to look so fierce just now? But forget it. As long as he agreed to let her continue to take care of Xiao Yi as Yi Si, she was very satisfied. She tilted her head and looked at him seriously. "Bailey Han, has anyone ever told you that you're really a good person?" Other than her, everyone else called him the cold-faced king of hell. His pretentious, serious and conflicted expression made her feel refreshed. She couldn't help but laugh. "So I'm the first one. Then I'm really honored." Bailey Han's facial muscles twitched as he asked calmly, "Why did you resign?" Xia Dong almost couldn't keep up with his jumping thoughts. She was stunned for a moment before she realized that he was talking about the position at Glamour magazine. She lowered her eyes and chuckled. "I have to take care of Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai. I also have to take care of the baby in my belly. I don't have so much energy to work. He looked down at her. You like that job very much. What time? I'm asking you, what time are we going to the aquarium tomorrow? The veins on Bailey Han's forehead throbbed. He found it unbelievable that he would suggest going to the aquarium with her. Oh, we've made plans for 10 o'clock. The young master said stiffly, see you outside the aquarium tomorrow. Okay. See you tomorrow. After Xia Dong left the study and walked to the stairwell, she suddenly felt that something was wrong. Brother Shin would definitely go with them tomorrow. If the two of them were together, wouldn't they be at loggerheads and part on bad terms? She wanted to scratch the wall. Could she back out now? Why was it that whenever she was in front of Bailey Han, she couldn't think straight? Why did she always do something crazy? She could almost imagine how dark Bailey Han's poker face would be if she went back on her word. He would even use his knife-sharp gaze to kill her. So the next day the situation was a little out of control. No, to be exact, it was out of control. The three families met in the parking lot at the entrance of the aquarium. Mika Kito was holding Gigai, while Xia Dong was holding Xiao Bao's hand. They looked like a family of four. Yi Siki and Lin Shihao each held Nyonyo's little hand as they walked over slowly. The two families gathered together and laughed happily as soon as they met. The three children especially were jumping and jumping around happily. A Rolls-Royce drove into the parking lot ostentatiously. Bailey Han stepped out of the car holding Xiao Yi's hand. When Lin Shihao and Yi Siki saw Bailey Han, their expressions were normal because they had heard from Xia Dong that Bailey Han would be coming with them. But Mika Kito was different. Her deep eyes suddenly turned to Xia Dong. She clasped her hands together and blinked ingratiatingly. She lowered her voice and said, Brother Shin, if there's anything you want to say, let's talk at home, okay? Mika Kito's expression was very bad. His handsome face was emitting a cold aura. He gritted his teeth and said fiercely, You've learned to lie to me? Brother Shin, I beg you. Teach me when we get home tonight, okay? Bailey Han and Xiao Yi were getting closer and closer. She looked at him with her big watery eyes and begged anxiously and pitifully. Beitang Shin was furious. He was furious that she had agreed to be Lin Yi's assistant without consulting him first. He was furious that she had risked her life to take care of little Wingzi in the Bailey family. He was furious that she had acted first and reported later, taking care of Bailey Han on a family gathering like this. But when he saw her pitiful expression, he couldn't help but soften. In the end, all his conflict and anger turned into a flick on her forehead. He gritted his teeth and glared at her. I'll deal with you when we get home tonight. Xia Dong held her aching forehead and tried to please him with tears in her eyes. Brother Shin, you're a great person and don't hold a grudge against me. You're a magnanimous person. From the corner of her eyes, she saw that Bailey Han and the others were already 2 meters away. She quickly shut her mouth and giggled. Mika Kito was angry and helpless. He ruffled her hair. Bailey Han was like an arrogant king. Standing in a place like the parking lot, his arrogance and domineering aura couldn't be concealed. His indifferent gaze swept across the few people without batting an eyelid. When he saw Lin Shihao, his eyes moved. He didn't expect that the director of the obstetrics and gynecology department of the People's Hospital was actually the husband of Xia Dong's good friend. Lin Shihao saw that his gaze was on him and nodded politely. Mr. Bailey. Bailey Han also nodded his head out of courtesy. Finally, his gaze fell on Mika Kito. Mika Kito's cold and arrogant gaze was fixed on him. The two of them looked calm, but the turbulent undercurrent was felt by everyone else. Xia Dong quickly smiled. Since everyone is here, let's go in. She took out the tickets that she had booked beforehand and distributed them to everyone. After entering the aquarium, there was a disagreement. Xia Dong considered that if they were to visit the aquarium as a group, they would be too conspicuous. Moreover, the combination of Mika Kito and Bailey Han was too dangerous. They could explode at any time. Therefore, she suggested that everyone split up and visit different aquariums. Then they would make an appointment to leave the aquarium together. However, Bailey Han disagreed. He said that bringing Xiao Yi out to play was to let him have more contact with the outside world. Therefore, the father and son pair would follow the group unswervingly. What he said was reasonable. Xia Dong had no reason to refute him. Therefore, the large group of people marched forward. Songshu 566. Chapter 145. In the underwater tunnel, colorful seaweed, corals, and all kinds of fish swam in front of them. There were even sharks with big mouths and murderous auras. The children couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Even Xiao Yi widened her eyes. The underwater world allowed the children to experience the beauty of nature and the vastness of the ocean. They stopped from time to time and leaned against the glass to look at the various creatures swimming in the water in amazement, so much so that they neglected the people and things around them. Xiao Yi raised his head and looked obsessively at the sea turtle that weighed a few hundred kilograms slowly and clumsily swimming above his head. He couldn't help but follow its pace with his short legs. Bailey Han only turned his head to look at Xia Dong, who was squatting in front of Xiao Guai and tidying her hair. When he turned back again, Xiao Yi, who had been following beside him, had already disappeared. He blamed himself for not taking good care of the children, who were right beside him. However, now was not the time to blame himself. It was more important to find him quickly. He called the others and explained the situation briefly. First, he contacted the broadcasting studio and asked them to help spread the news of the children's disappearance. Then he decided that Yi Siki and Xia Dong would take care of the children. The three men would split up to look for Xiao Yi's whereabouts and keep in touch with each other. Xia Dong and Yi Siki brought the children to the underwater food pavilion. Their hearts were in a mess and they couldn't calm down at all. Yezi, take care of the children. I'm going to look for Xiao Yi too. Yi Siki grabbed her arm. You're not feeling well right now. Can you do it? It's okay. I can do it. She patted Yi Siki's hand to comfort her. Then she stroked Xiao Guai and Xiao Bao's hair. Babies, mommy is going to look for Xiao Yi too. You guys stay here with Auntie Siki. Don't wander around, okay? The children nodded in unison. Xia Dong called Mika Kito and the others to ask about the search. The three of them had not found Xiao Yi yet, so Xia Dong asked them where they were. Xia Dong specially went to some places that they had not searched yet. He searched from the jellyfish hall to the sea creature hall, and finally came to the sea creature hall. There was a dolphin performance going on in the performance hall. When Xia Dong walked into the performance area, the viewing platform was already full of people. She searched row by row and kept apologizing to the people. When she found the first row from the last row, the performance had just ended. She hurriedly stood to the side and searched for that small figure in the surging crowd. Suddenly, she saw a short figure walking towards the exit. He was wearing the same clothes as Xiao Yi. She didn't have time to think. She shouted Xiao Yi's name and rushed into the crowd to chase after him. Xiao Yi, Xiao Yi. She struggled to squeeze through the crowd, but unfortunately her voice was drowned out by the noise. Her body was squeezed by the crowd. When she looked up again, the child was long gone. Maybe he was blocked by the adults next to him, or maybe he had already left the performance hall. Xia Dong helplessly stopped. When the crowd had dispersed, she held on to her last glimmer of hope and looked around the seats in the performance hall. She imagined that maybe Xiao Yi was sitting somewhere that she couldn't see. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she ran to the corner of the first row. There was a small figure sitting on the seat. He was focused on the huge pool in front of him. There were two dolphins, one big and one small, swimming lazily in the pool. Several staff members were finishing up the performance. Xiao Yi. When Xia Dong ran in front of him, she was panting heavily. Her heart was thumping wildly. She suddenly hugged him in her arms and said in a trembling voice, Xiao Yi, why are you here? We were worried to death. Bailey Yi's eyes flashed. He leaned against her chest and could hear her heart beating wildly. There was a faint fragrance on her body. Hugging him, it was warm and comfortable. He despised and hated all the women who tried to get close to his daddy. His little hand pushed her shoulder forcefully and a low growl of displeasure came from his throat. Sorry, I was just too happy. Xia Dong quickly let go of him and smiled gently. Wait a moment. I'll inform everyone. She was the first to inform Bailey Han. When she was talking to Mika Kito, Xiao Yi suddenly jumped down from the chair and walked out silently. Brother Shin, please inform Lin Shihao and Siki. I'll take Xiao Yi to Seabed Food Pavilion immediately. She quickly hung up the phone and followed Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi, don't walk so fast. Watch your step. Xia Dong followed closely behind him. Seeing that the steps were very high, she naturally reached out to help him up. Unexpectedly, he suddenly reached out and pushed her away. Although he didn't use much strength, she was still caught off guard and her body swayed along with his force. She grabbed the back of the chair to steady herself. He looked at her coldly. She could clearly see the deep hostility in his clear eyes. Her heart trembled. She wanted to smile, but the corners of her lips couldn't curl up. Perhaps she was too greedy. When she was growing up with Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai, she couldn't help but want to pay attention to Xiao Yi's life. She really should have done what Bailey Han said and died in the car accident so that she wouldn't disturb his life anymore. She couldn't suppress the sadness in her heart. A drop of hot tear fell and landed right in front of Xiao Yi's toes. He lowered his head and stared blankly at the small piece of floor wet with tears. She quickly turned her head and wiped the corners of her eyes. She smiled at him. Xiaoyi, let's go. I'll take you to see your daddy. At this time the performance hall was already empty. She let him walk in front of her alone and suppressed all her emotions. When they walked out of the performance hall, two men in flowery shirts suddenly rushed towards them. They came in a menacing manner. It was obvious that they weren't kind people. Xia Dong instinctively protected Xiaoyi. She bent down to pick him up from the ground, but a pair of arms suddenly reached out from beside her and snatched Xiaoyi from her arms. The person holding Xiaoyi was a young man in his 20s. He was quite good-looking, but there was a sinister glint in his eyes. He held Bailey Yi's neck with one hand and said coldly, "Miss Xia, please come with us." "Let the child go. I'll go with you." Xia Dong put her right hand behind her back and secretly dialed a number. However, a man in his 30s with a knife scar on his face standing beside her discovered her. He snatched the phone and threw it to the ground. With a crack he crushed the screen. Someone looked over curiously. The man with the knife scar roared fiercely, "What the f***ck are you looking at? Haven't you seen a couple quarrel before?" She felt something pressing against her waist. The knife-scarred man seemed to be holding her waist intimately. He lowered his voice and threatened her, "Behave yourself. If you play any more tricks, I'll take this brat's life first." The man with the knife scar dragged her roughly while the young man followed closely behind with Xiaoyi in his arms. They chose a very secluded path and walked out of the aquarium in a few minutes. Bailey Han received a call from Xia Dong and rushed to the performance hall without stopping. When he rushed in, there was no one inside. He frowned and walked out quickly while calling her phone. However, no one picked up. When he reached the entrance of the performance hall, he suddenly heard a crisp ringtone. He looked around and finally fixed his gaze on the floor not far in front of him. A phone with a broken screen was lying on the floor and ringing. It was Xia Dong's phone. Bailey Han's heart suddenly tightened. After thinking for a few seconds, he quickly made a judgment and chased in a certain direction. When Bailey Han reached the parking lot, he saw a Mercedes-Benz passing by the gate. Xia Dong was sitting in the back seat. He immediately jumped into the car, stepped on the accelerator and chased after the car. When he reached an intersection, he ran into a red light. The sidewalk was crowded with people, so he had to stop. When he stepped on the accelerator again, the Mercedes-Benz had disappeared. Fortunately, he had sent the license plate number to the Dragon Gang and ordered them to quickly track down the identity of the owner of the Mercedes-Benz. Xia Dong and Xiao Yi were taken to an abandoned factory in the suburbs. She was tied up and thrown on the ground. Xiao Yi's hands and feet were also tied. Xia Dong was holding a small earring in her right hand. She had secretly taken it in the car when they were not paying attention. She used the earring to rub the rope and moved her body with difficulty. She stood in front of Xiao Yi and said in a low voice, "Xiao Yi, don't be afraid. I'm here." Her phone was abandoned in front of the performance hall. When Mika Keto found out that she was missing, he would guess that they had met with an accident when he saw the phone. She believed that Brother Shin would definitely come to save her. There was no trace of fear in Xiao Yi's clear eyes. He stared fixedly at Xia Dong, who was standing in front of him, and something in his heart quietly changed. The scar-faced man walked over and pinched her chin. His eyes were shining with anger. "Beatrice, I finally caught you. It's not easy to catch you when you're alone." Xia Dong tried to shrink back, but her chin was pinched even harder. It was burning with pain. "Who are you? Why do you want to catch me?" "Beatrice, you're still playing dumb. If it weren't for you, my brother wouldn't have died." The scar-faced man suddenly let go of her chin and slapped her face hard. Her head hit the concrete floor heavily. Her head was buzzing. Her face was numb and she could not feel anything. She only felt a burning sensation as if she had been roasted by a furnace. The taste of blood spread in her mouth, and bright red blood flowed down the corner of her mouth. Half of her face was red and swollen, but she did not feel the pain at all. She calmly stared into the scar-faced man's eyes. "Who is your brother?" The scar-faced man spat and said viciously, "I will let you know why you died. Lao San, give her the newspaper. Come and see." Xinhu 799. Chapter 146. The one called Lao San was the young man in his 20s. His vicious eyes flashed with a cold light like that of a venomous snake. He pulled out a newspaper from somewhere and smashed it hard on Xia Dong's injured face. "Look carefully. The man who died tragically on the street in the newspaper is my brother." Xia Dong tried his best to stretch his neck and finally saw the headline and photo on the newspaper clearly. However, she was sure that she had never seen this man before. You're mistaken. I don't know him. Then you might have heard of his name. The scar-faced man suddenly squatted down and pinched her face with 2 fingers. He's the leader of the Flame Gang. Old K, because of you, he was killed by the gangsters. Old K, this name sounded familiar. A thought flashed through Xia Dong's mind. She scanned the newspaper with difficulty and finally remembered that she had seen this news before. It said that the leader of the Flame Gang died tragically on the street during a fight. However, how could this have anything to do with her? You remember now. The scar-faced man laughed sinisterly. *Tsich, I know you have a powerful backer. Call him now and tell him to come alone. Otherwise, I'll let you and that little *Tsich die a horrible death. A powerful backer? Was he referring to Brother Shin? Could it be that Brother Shin had a dispute with the local mafia? Questions flashed through Xia Dong's mind. What she needed to do now was to stall for time so that Mikakito and the rest could rescue them. She pursed her lips. I don't know who the backer you're referring to is. Why don't you tell me the whole story, why Old K was cut into pieces by the people of the Black Street? Maybe I can think of something. The knife-scarred man dragged a chair over and sat down. He stepped on her arm and grinned viciously. Don't try to play tricks with me. Otherwise, I'll strangle that little *Ts to death first. He gave third brother a look and he immediately walked over to Xiao Yi. Xia Dong endured the excruciating pain in her arm and propped herself up to protect Xiao Yi. She said sternly, Don't move. I'm not playing any tricks. I really don't know who your backer is. The scar-faced man sneered. Third brother didn't stop walking. He bent down and stretched out his arm to push Xia Dong over. Then he grabbed Xiao Yi's collar and lifted him off the ground. As Xiao Yi's tiny body was lifted into the air, Xia Dong's heart almost stopped beating. She screamed in panic, Don't hurt him. Please don't hurt him. She struggled to get up from the ground. Her legs were tied up so she could only jump towards Lao San. She said anxiously, I beg you let him go. He can't breathe. Xiao Yi's throat was choked by the collar, and his little face gradually changed color due to the difficulty of breathing. His clear eyes were filled with an uncomfortable mist, and he struggled with all his might, kicking his short legs. Xia Dong's heart ached as she bit third brother's arm. *Eminent, how dare you bite me? Third brother grabbed Xiao Yi with one hand and raised his other hand to slap Xia Dong's face. Xia Dong's face swelled even more, and blood flowed down from the corner of her mouth. She gritted her teeth and said coldly, Let him go. I'll make a call right away. If they had been so obedient, they wouldn't have had to suffer so much. The scar-faced man glanced at third brother. Third brother placed Xiao Yi on the ground. Suddenly, a cold voice pierced through the air. There's no need to make a call. I'm here. The sound of heavy footsteps clearly beat on Xia Dong's eardrums. She suddenly raised her head and widened her eyes in disbelief. A tall and imposing figure slowly walked in from the door. His face was backlit so she couldn't see his expression clearly. But he was emitting a domineering and ruthless aura like a king, which made her heart tremble. It was Bailey Han. He had actually found them and had come to meet them alone. Bailey Han's sharp eyes swept across the battered and exhausted Xiao Yi and Xia Dong, whose cheeks were red and swollen. The murderous look in his eyes suddenly exploded and shot out, but it was quickly hidden behind a calm and indifferent expression. More than 10 hooligans surrounded Bailey Han with knives and other weapons in their hands. They glared at him. Bailey Han didn't take their threats seriously and walked forward fearlessly. He only stopped when the scar-faced man put his hand on Xia Dong's throat and looked at them coldly. You're Old Mo, Old K's younger brother. Old Mo sneered. That's right. Young Master Bailey, I didn't expect you to track us here so quickly. It seems like you're this bitch's backer? His fingers gently rubbed Xia Dong's fair neck. Suddenly he exerted force and she raised her neck in pain. Old Mo smiled evilly. I didn't expect that Mika Kito's woman would have an affair with Bailey Han. Bitch, don't tell me that the little bastard next to you is also your and Bailey Han's child? Xia Dong glared at him in anger and pain. She bit her lips but didn't say a word. She and Xiao Yi were in their hands. If they were angered, who knew what they would do? Bailey Han's hand silently moved to his back. Old Mo noticed his movement and grabbed Xiao Yi to block in front of him. He said sternly, Bailey Han, throw away your weapon. Otherwise, I'll take your son's life first. Bailey Han pulled out a handgun from his back and threw it to the ground. You guys, search him and see if he has any weapons. Old Mo dragged Xiaodong and took a few steps back. With a bang, he kicked the pistol away and ordered his men to search Xiaodong's body. Bailey Han expressionlessly allowed them to search him. The hooligan took a dagger from his calf and threw it to the ground. They didn't find anything else. He looked at Old Mo indifferently. Old Mo, you're venting your anger on a woman and a child. You and your brother are indeed from the same womb. Old K had once drugged Xiaodong and sent several subordinates to gang rape her. Of course, Old Mo knew about this matter. When he heard Bailey Han's sarcastic words, he immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. He couldn't help but curse, Bailey Han, don't King pretend to be a hero for me here. Picking up Beitang Shin's broken shoes and wearing a green hat. You're just a dirty person. Bailey Han's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He said coldly, your brother asked for it. He's lucky that I only let the men of the Black Street stab him once. Old Mo sneered. Bailey Han, I'm not going to talk nonsense with you. I'm here today to avenge my brother. Old San, take it out. Old San took a paper thing and threw it to Bailey Han. Bailey Han flipped through the thing in his hand and said coldly, you want 20% of the shares of Xianghao Group. What a big appetite. Old Mo was not easy to deal with. When he decided to take revenge, he had already investigated Xiaodong's interpersonal relationships. He knew that she had the best relationship with three men, Mika Kito, Bailey Han, and Bailey Yun. No matter which one of them was her backer, he had prepared a corresponding plan to deal with them. Old Mo grabbed the pen and threw it to Bailey Han. He said fiercely, don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and sign it, or I'll kill your son and your mistress. He suddenly grabbed Xiaodong's hair. Xiaodong endured the pain and tried hard to move back. She did not make a sound. Bailey Han's heart trembled. Using the act of looking at the contract as an excuse, his left hand quietly touched his belt. There was a thin steel knife deeply embedded in it. Although the blade was shorter than a thumb, it was abnormally sharp and was enough to cut a fatal wound. But he hesitated and did not make a move. There was only one knife. He was confident that he could shoot the knife into the heart of the young man called Old San. He was also confident that he could save Xiaodong from Old Mo at the same time. But he was not confident that he could take them to avoid the siege of more than 10 people and the shooting of guns. He took back his hand and continued to think with the pen. If he signed the contract, Old Mo would definitely not let them go. But if he did not sign it, Xiaodong and Shaoyi would be in their hands. He was in a dilemma. Old Mo couldn't wait any longer. He grabbed Xiaodong's clothes and tore them apart. With the sound of fabric tearing, her dress was torn from her chest, and her snow-white skin was exposed. Her hands were tied behind her back, and there was no way to cover her exposed breasts. Her face was so hot that it was about to bleed. She bit her lips and stared at Old Mo. Look at her tender skin. It must taste good when I do it. Old Mo grinned and dragged Xiaodong to the sofa. Bailey Han's voice suddenly sounded, I've signed it. Come and get it. Old Mo paused and glanced at Xiaodong, whose face was red with blood. He laughed sinisterly. He did not expect that mysterious woman to have some skills. A few days ago, a mysterious woman contacted him and said that she knew that his brother was killed by the backer behind Xiaodong. She also said that Bailey Yi was Xiaodong's illegitimate son. She cared about Bailey Yi very much. If she used Bailey Yi to threaten her, it would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. Old Mo wasn't a fool. Of course, he could tell that the other party wanted to use him to get rid of Xiaodong and Bailey Yi. However, this was also an opportunity for his elder brother, Old K, to take revenge as well as a chance for him to make a fortune. It was not fun to just kill people. He also wanted to get the compensation that he deserved. You guys tie his hands up for me. Old Mo was cunning. Naturally, he would not easily believe Bailey Han. After two of his men tied Bailey Han's wrists with ropes, he waved his hand and asked someone to bring the contract over. The three big characters were indeed Bailey Han's signature. Old Mo was ecstatic and laughed loudly. After a few laughs, he suddenly stopped and stared at Bailey Han gloomily. Bailey Han, you killed my brother. I will not let you go easily. But you can rest assured that I will send you to hell for the sake of you transferring 20% of your shares to me. Lao San, bring the things I have prepared for young Master Bailey. Let him and his mistress have a good time and then go to hell. Xiaodong said in a hoarse voice, let the child go. He is innocent. Awesome novel Song Shu 566. Xiaodong hugged Xiao Yi and rolled on the ground to avoid the bullet. At the same time, Bailey Han suddenly stood up from the ground. He forcibly broke the rope on his wrist and kicked third brother's temple heavily. Clang! The gun in third brother's hand fell to the ground. His huge body also fell to the ground. The accident happened in an instant. Old Emo and the group of hooligans were stunned. Old Emo was the first to react and quickly pulled out his gun. Bailey Han's right hand had quickly shot out a throwing knife from his waist. The throwing knife hit Old Mo's forehead. Blood spurted out and he fell down without a sound. Bailey Han strode forward and bent down to pick up the gun on the ground. He aimed at the group of hooligans and fired. In an instant, 3 or 4 of them fell down. The rest of the hooligans were like headless dragons and had long scattered in fear. The fight only lasted for 2 or 3 minutes, but Xia Dong felt that it was as long as a lifetime. She protected Xiao Yi and hid behind the sofa. When the gunshots stopped, she hugged Xiao Yi and covered his eyes and ran out from behind the sofa. Bailey Han, how are you? She saw that Bailey Han was sweating profusely. His face was pale and he was tottering. She knew that the medicine that old Emo had fed him had taken effect. The pile of red and green pills and medicine was mixed with various hallucinogens and stimulants. There was even an aphrodisiac. Xiao Yi's body stiffened and he reached out to push Xia Dong's hand away. Xia Dong's voice trembled. Xiao Yi, don't look. She was afraid of scaring him with the corpses and rivers of blood in front of him. But he insisted. He wanted to see how Daddy was doing. Xia Dong understood his thoughts. She could only put him down with his back facing the door and let go of his eyes. Bailey Han could not hold on any longer. He forced himself to take off his coat and threw it to Xia Dong, who was barely dressed. He fell to the floor with a plop. His body began to twitch and he said in a hoarse voice, "Water, quickly find water. Xiao Yi, stay here. Don't run around." Xia Dong said anxiously as she put on his coat. She glanced around and found an empty mineral water bottle in the corner. She quickly ran over to pick it up and ran out to get tap water. After Bailey Han filled his stomach with water, he vomited violently in the corner. As the pill had stayed in his stomach for a long time, he vomited out white foam. Although he had his stomach pumped, the injection of medicine could not eliminate the effects of the drug. The strong effects of the medicine affected his brain. His body was burning hot, his head was spinning, and his mind was in a mess. Xia Dong anxiously rummaged through his coat pocket, trying to find his phone. Xiao Yi squatted beside him and bit her lip. She took out his phone from his trouser pocket. She hurriedly dialed Mika Kito's number. "Brother Shin, we're in an abandoned factory in the suburbs. I don't know the exact location. Bailey Han has been poisoned and needs a doctor. Brother Shin, this is Bailey Han's phone. You can track his signal." After saying this, she did not hang up. Instead, she put the phone aside and paid attention to Bailey Han's condition. His whole body was convulsing and he was delirious. His face was so red that it looked like it was roasted. But other than waiting, there was nothing she could do. She could only watch him suffer. Her heart throbbed with pain. At this moment, he suddenly opened his eyes. His blood-red eyes stared at her like a ferocious beast. At this moment, her dress was in tatters. Although she was wearing his suit jacket because his jacket was too big, the cleavage in front of her chest was faintly discernible. He suddenly roared like a lion that had gone berserk. He pounced up from the ground and pressed down on her. Xia Dong was caught off guard. The first thing she did was to protect her abdomen with both hands. She did not have any extra hands to block his attack. His burning hot body pressed against hers forcefully. His body was tense and stiff like a rock, pressing down on her tightly. Xia Dong felt a hard stick-like object hit her leg hard. Her heart immediately panicked. She knew what it was. He was like a mad beast. He used all his strength to separate her legs. That burning weapon collided heavily between her legs. She struggled with all her might and tried her best to avoid it. She fiercely bit his arm and shouted anxiously, "Bailey Han, wake up!" Fresh blood flowed down his arm. The sharp pain cleared his mind for a second. He wanted to push her away, but his body's instincts made it impossible for him to resist. He said in a hoarse voice, "Hit, hit. Knock me out." In the next second, the demon in his body gained the upper hand. The thing between his legs started to move again. His heavy breathing and painful cries were transmitted to Mika Kito's ears through the phone. He flew into a rage. He sped up and shouted anxiously, "Bailey Han, stop it right now." Xia Dong was being pressed down. She was in unbearable pain. Other than the sharp pain between her legs, her abdomen was also starting to hurt. She did not have time to think. She had to find something to knock Bailey Han out. As far as her arm could reach, there was nothing she could use. She kept moving her body to block his attacks. However, he was too strong. She could not hold on for much longer. Just as she was about to give up, Xiao Yi, who had been silent all this time, suddenly ran away. Soon he ran back with a wooden stick and handed it to Xia Dong. Xia Dong closed her eyes. She gritted her teeth and swung the wooden stick at the back of his head. His movements suddenly paused. His pupils constricted. His blood-red eyes stared straight at her. That ferocious look made him look like a malicious spirit that had crawled out of hell. Xia Dong shuddered. She was so scared that her heart almost stopped beating. She thought that she was about to die. However, he suddenly roared and got up from her body. Like a wild bull in the wind, he charged at the stone pillar. With a loud bang, his tall body fell to the ground and he no longer moved. Xia Dong's heart suddenly tightened. She widened her eyes in shock. She had never expected that he would hit his head and bleed. She was shocked, scared, and touched. She wanted to go forward to check on his condition, but the pain between her legs was burning. The pain in her abdomen also intensified. She trembled and wanted to get up, but she didn't succeed. Xiao Yi glanced at her. She bit her lip and turned to run to Bailey Han's side. Bailey Han's face was covered in blood. He lay motionless on the ground. Xiao Yi panicked. She used her little hand to push his arm. Her tears fell and she cried, "Daddy, Daddy, wake up. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have run around. Daddy, wake up." Xiao Yi was willing to talk. Xia Dong was in pain and surprise. Coupled with fear and sadness, all kinds of complicated emotions mixed together. She couldn't help but feel a lump in her throat. She forced herself to get up from the ground and walked to Bailey Han's side. His face was covered in blood. She trembled as she checked his breathing. Fortunately, although his breathing was weak, at least he was still alive. She immediately saw the part below his abdomen that was almost poking through his pants. She awkwardly averted her gaze. There were so many stimulants and aphrodisiacs. He wouldn't explode, right? Actually, she could help him with it, but her son was beside him. She touched Xiao Yi, who was crying bitterly. She comforted him and herself. "Xiao Yi, don't worry. Your daddy will be fine. He will be fine." Attention, Song Shu 566. Chapter 148. Her stomach hurt more and more. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. Sitting on the floor, she didn't forget to comfort Xiao Yi softly. The sound of footsteps was chaotic and anxious. Xia Dong looked up at the door and saw Mika Kito's tall figure running over. In the empty factory, he didn't even notice the mess on the floor. In his heart, there was only Xia Dong. He ran over and hugged her tightly in his arms. "Xia, don't be afraid. I'll take you home." She had suddenly disappeared in the aquarium. On the phone, when he heard that Bailey Han had been drugged and wanted to humiliate her, he was anxious and angry. He wanted nothing more than to fly to her side immediately. Seeing her in such a sorry state, his heart was about to break. His heart was beating wildly and even she could feel it. She endured the pain and patted his back gently. She tried to smile. "Brother Shin, where's the doctor? Let the doctor take a look at Bailey Han. He's seriously poisoned. Also, my stomach hurts a little." Mika Kito quickly relaxed his arms a little. Worried that he would press on her stomach, he shouted, "Doctor, doctor." Soon a doctor and nurse, along with 4 of their men, rushed in with a stretcher. Mika Kito asked the doctor to treat Xia Dong first, but Xia Dong refused. She wanted to see Bailey Han's condition first. Fortunately, the doctor knew about her condition and asked the nurse to give her an injection. Bailey Han's condition was more complicated. The doctor pumped his stomach on the spot, gave him a cardiac stimulant, and bandaged his wound briefly. Then they were sent to the hospital. Mika Kito first carried Xia Dong into the car and then carried Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi insisted on staying by Bailey Han's side. Xia Dong wrapped a blanket around him and hugged his small body. He didn't resist or struggle. He let her hug him as he stared blankly at the lifeless Bailey Han lying on the stretcher. When they arrived at the hospital, Mika Kito ignored her objections and carried her all the way to the obstetrics and gynecology department. Fortunately, she controlled her emotions well and performed emergency treatment in time. The child was not in danger. Bailey Han was pushed to the emergency room. The doctor said that not only did he have drug poisoning, but he also had a serious skull injury. Xia Dong couldn't help but think of the scene when he crashed into the stone pillar. The clear sound of the stone hitting his head kept echoing in her ears. His bloodied face was still in front of her. Her heart ached. She grabbed Mika Kito's arm and asked in a trembling voice, "Brother Shin, will he die?" "No, he won't die." Mika Kito felt his heart ache when he saw her like this. Why wasn't he the first to find her? Why wasn't he the one who protected her when she was in danger? Ever since he came to the hospital, little Wingzy seemed to have regained his usual cold expression. He sat on the bench with his back straight and stared at the emergency room door without blinking. "Xianxia, you must be tired. I'll take you back first." Mikakito gently patted her back and coaxed her gently. "It's okay. I'm fine now." She looked at Xiao Yi and said softly, "Brother Shin, you should inform Bailey's family." Her face was pale, her hair was messy, her cheeks were swollen, her lips were cracked and stained with blood. She almost had a miscarriage. She didn't look like she was fine at all. His heart ached and his eyes were filled with tenderness. He held her hand and said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'll get Liuxing to take you home first. I'll stay here with Xiao Yi and wait for his family." Xiaodong looked up at the emergency room light and then looked at Xiao Yi, who was sitting upright on the bench. She said, "Brother Shin, I want to stay. Can I borrow your phone? I want to tell Yezi that I'm safe." Mikakito still wanted to persuade her, but she stretched out her hand and placed it in front of him. She looked like she wouldn't give up until she got what she wanted. "Brother Shin, don't try to persuade me anymore. Give me the phone." Mikakito sighed and placed the phone in her hand. Xiaodong called Yisiki and learned that she had sent the children home and was still at home with Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai. Yisiki shouted over the phone and Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai immediately ran over. They surrounded the phone and called, "Mommy." She said a few more words to them before ending the call. 10 minutes later, the people from the Bailey family hurried over. Bailey Xiong walked at the front. Old Madame Xiao was leaning on a walking stick and Bai Jinxiu was holding her arm. The two of them walked in the second row anxiously. Bailey Yun looked indifferent as he walked at the back. "Mr. Beitang, how is my son?" Bailey Xiong looked anxious and didn't bother to exchange pleasantries. Mikakito stood up. "The doctor is giving him first aid." Old Madame Zhao's eyes were red. She picked up Xiao Yi and stroked his head lovingly. "What happened? How did Ahan get hurt so badly?" Mikakito said calmly, "Xia and Xiao Yi were kidnapped. Mr. Bailey was the first to arrive. He subdued the kidnappers and was injured himself." Old Madame Zhao's expression changed when she heard this. She looked at Xiaodong with some dissatisfaction in her eyes, but she didn't flare up because of Mikakito. Bai Jinxiu couldn't help but shout at Xiaodong, "Xiaodong, it's you again. Haven't you heard Ahan enough? You'll only be satisfied if he dies, won't you?" After Bailey Yun came over, his attention was on Xiaodong. Her face was badly injured and she was wearing Bailey Han's coat. He didn't know if she was hurt. He noticed that she had been sitting in the chair and didn't get up even when they came over. He guessed that she must be very tired now, or maybe it was because of her injuries that she couldn't get up to deal with them. His feelings were complicated and his heart ached. When he heard Bai Jinxiu's reprimand, he could not help retorting, "Auntie, what you're saying is too unreasonable. Big Bro saved Xiaodong of his own volition. Besides, little Wingzy was also kidnapped. Should Big Bro just watch as little Wingzy gets hurt?" Bai Jinxiu was provoked by his words and couldn't help but blurt out, Xiao Yi is also her." "Enough." Old Madame interrupted her, her cold gaze falling on her. She suddenly quivered and realized that something was wrong. She almost spilled the beans. "What's the point of making such a racket in the hospital?" Old Madame Xiao glared at Bailey Yun again and glanced at Xiaodong indifferently. There was no lack of warning in her eyes. Xiaodong looked indifferent and seemed to turn a deaf ear to their quarrel. She had already expected this to happen, so she wasn't surprised at all and didn't care. Mikakito didn't want her to be wronged. She held her hand and said in a deep voice, "You'll know the details when Mr. Bailey wakes up. Isn't it too much to blame Xiaxia now?" Bai Jinxiu looked indifferent and didn't look ashamed at all. Old Madame Xiao lowered her head and stroked Xiao Yi as if she didn't hear anything. Bailey Han coughed and stood up to smooth things over. "Mr. Beitang is right. We were too hasty." Mikakito snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. They sat in the corridor and waited for more than 10 minutes before the doctor came out of the emergency room. He said that the patient was out of danger, but his condition was a little serious. He still had to do a brain check on the head injury. Other than Bailey Yun, the other 3 members of the Bailey family looked very upset. Old Madame Xiao hurriedly interrupted the doctor, as if she didn't want the doctor to talk about Bailey Han's condition in front of Xiaodong and the others. Xiaodong lowered her eyes. She knew it was time for her to leave. She politely said goodbye and didn't look at Xiao Yi. With Mikakito's help, she stood up. Mikakito suddenly bent down and carried her in his arms. Ignoring Bailey Yun's murderous gaze and the others' surprised gazes, he swaggered her into the car. When they arrived at the neighborhood, Mikakito carried her out of the car and carried her upstairs. If it were any other time she would have rejected him. But now she stretched out her arms and wrapped them around his neck. She bit her lower lip and frowned slightly as if she was suppressing something. Mikakito's heart skipped a beat. He suspected that she was injured too. When they got home, Yisiki was still at home with the children. She couldn't help but tear up when she saw Xiaodong's injuries. The two children were even more anxious. Xiao Guai was so heartbroken that she cried. Xiao Bao was so angry that his teeth itched. He wanted to cut the person who hurt his mother into pieces. Xiaodong comforted the children gently. Mikakito went into the bathroom to fill the tub with hot water. When he came out, he said to Yisiki, "Siki, can you help Xiaxia clean up?" Xiaodong thought about the injuries on her body and immediately blushed. No, it's okay. I can do it myself." Yisiki pretended to be relaxed. "Why are you so shy? It's not like I haven't seen it before. I even helped you scrub your back when we were in university." Ignoring her objections, he forcibly helped her into the bathroom. Yisiki reached out, but Xiaodong quickly pressed her hand down. "Yezi, I'll take it off myself." She gently took off her jacket, revealing her tattered dress. Yisiki's pupils shrank. She saw a bruise on Xiaodong's arm. After taking off her dress, she saw countless abrasions on her body. Yisiki's eyes welled up with tears. Her nose twitched and she almost cried. "Yezi, you can go out. I can do it myself." Xiaodong awkwardly clamped her legs together. When she was taking off her clothes, she noticed that there was a serious abrasions between her legs. Her attempt to cover up made it even more conspicuous. Yisiki noticed the abrasions between her legs, which made it easy for her to guess what had happened. The tears in Yisiki's eyes finally fell. She bit her lip and didn't say a word. She helped Xiaodong into the bathtub, wetted a towel and wiped her body. Her movements were as gentle as a feather. Xiaodong knew what she was thinking. She reached out and gently held her hand. She said softly, "Yezi, actually he didn't hurt me. He took so many stimulants and aphrodisiacs. In order not to hurt me, he would rather bang his head against a pillar." Towards the end her voice choked up. That moment brought her so much shock that even now when she thought about it, she was still shaken to the core. Quick look. Songshu 566. Chapter 149. Yisiki froze for a moment. She thought that Bailey Han had hurt Xiaxia, but she didn't expect it to be like this. After a long time, she sighed softly and said, "Xiaxia, sometimes I can't help but think that Bailey Han actually loves you. If it wasn't love, why would he do so many unbelievable things?" Xiaodong was stunned. Because of her words, her heart was in a mess. It seemed that he really did treat her differently. The soft wet cloth gently brushed against her shoulder, careful not to touch her wound. The gentle touch pulled her back to reality. She rubbed her forehead and said softly, "The person he loves should be Su Yunqian. They are a match made in heaven." Yisiki sneered as if she had heard a joke. "They are a match made in heaven? Of course not. Let me tell you, 2 days ago old Lin told me something." Bailey Han and Su Yunqian went to his place for a checkup. Su Yunqian went behind Bailey Han's back and wanted old Lin to lie for her. Lie? What lie? Of course she wanted old Lin to say that she was pregnant. Yisiki curled her lips in disdain. For a woman to lie to her fiancé and say that she was pregnant, there can only be one possibility. There must be something going on between them. This woman is starting to get scared and wants to use the child to tie her fiancé down. Xiaodong fell silent. She already knew that there was something going on between Bailey Han and Su Yunqian. Perhaps she had to take some responsibility for it. Old Lin also said that when he heard that Su Yunqian wasn't pregnant, Bailey Han's expression turned ugly. Without saying a word, he dragged Su Yunqian away. From the looks of it, the two of them must have quarreled. Yisiki's tone was full of schadenfreude. Su Yunqian even threatened old Lin. You didn't see the look of panic on her face. Xiaodong pursed her lips. Look at how vividly you described it. It's like you've seen it before. I haven't, but old Lin has. Yisiki gently stroked her hair, her tone filled with pride. Xiaodong's lips curved, but she didn't argue with her. To be honest, if Bailey Han is really interested in you, you should develop a good relationship and give the children a complete family. Yisiki said so much, but this was the main point. A complete family. Xiaodong was stunned. The first thing that came to her mind was the scene of Xiao Yi crying in front of Bailey Han at the abandoned factory. Her heart suddenly ached, but the scene changed to 5 years ago. She was lying in the delivery room in the hospital. The old lady broke in with her bodyguards and mercilessly snatched the newborn child from the doctor's hands. At the time, the old lady said, "According to our agreement, I'm taking the child away. If you try anything funny again, you can expect to collect your aunt and uncle's corpses." Japan was under Brother Shin's influence. Originally, it was impossible for the old lady to leave with the child. However, she used the lives of her aunt and uncle to threaten Xiaodong. In the end, she carried the child and swaggered away. Xiaodong leaned against the bathtub tiredly and said calmly, "Easy, first of all, I don't want to get married. I can't even get past the old lady. I know my position very well. I don't want to talk about relationships right now. I just want to take good care of the children. I'm just worried about you. You're a pregnant woman with 2 children. Xiao Guai is even sick. Just thinking about it gives me a headache." Yi Siki frowned and poked her forehead. "Why don't you want to get married? Why are you so distrustful of relationships? Look at me and old Lin. We've been married for 7 years and we're still doing well." Xiaodong laughed. "Oh, you've been married for 7 years. I wish you success in getting through the 7-year-itch. Humph, I have full confidence in old Lin." Yi Siki's face was full of pride. She had always been proud of her husband and trusted him wholeheartedly. "All right, my proud Mrs. Lin, my skin is about to fall off because of you. Can you get up now?" What Xiaodong didn't say was that the wound on her thigh was stained with water and it hurt even more. "Yes, it's fine. Let me help you up. Wait a moment, I'll help you apply medicine." Yi Siki took a clean towel and was about to wipe her wound. Xiaodong quickly snatched it from her. "Mrs. Lin, I can do it myself. Please leave us alone for a moment." Yi Siki rolled her eyes. "I've seen your entire body. Why are you still shy?" Although she said that, she still put the bathrobe in a convenient place and walked out of the bathroom. Xiaodong wrapped herself in the bathrobe. The fabric rubbed against her wound painfully. She frowned and pretended to be normal as she walked out of the bathroom. Mika Kito took the first aid kit and sat on the sofa to wait for her. Isiki was nowhere to be seen. "Brother Shen, where's Yezi?" Xiaodong wiped her wet hair. Mika Kito naturally took the towel from her and gently wiped her wound. She went back first. She said she was going to cook for Lin Shihao and Nyonyo. "I'll help you apply medicine later." Xiaodong was speechless. Could she show Brother Shin her wound? That bastard Yezi must have done it on purpose. Yi Siki did it on purpose. She spared no effort to matchmake her best friend and quickly get married. Because she was pregnant, she didn't even use a hairdryer after washing her hair. She let it dry naturally. Mika Kito wiped her hair carefully with the towel. When her hair was almost dry, he combed her hair with his slender fingers. His fingers weaved through her hair. Xiaodong lowered her head in embarrassment, revealing half of her fair neck. Under the soft lighting, she looked even more charming. Mika Kito tucked her long hair behind her ear and said gently, "Okay, let's go back to the room now. I'll apply medicine for you." Xiaodong quickly grabbed his hand that was carrying the first aid kit and smiled awkwardly. "It's okay, Brother Shin. I can do it myself." "You can't do it yourself." Before Yi Siki left, he had specifically told her that she had a wound on her back too. He knew she was shy, but he was more worried about the wound on her back getting infected. "Then I won't do it. It's just a small wound. It's okay." Xiaodong's face was burning. "I'm your older brother. You don't have to worry about so many things." Mika Kito frowned. "Do you want me to carry you or do you want to walk on your own?" Xiaodong pulled a long face. "Brother Shin." Mika Kito was determined. Ignoring her resistance, he bent down and picked her up. Xiaodong sat on her bed while Mika Kito stood beside her bed. His gaze was strong but not lustful. He was as calm and rational as a doctor looking at his patient. "I'll just treat him as a doctor." Xiaodong comforted herself for a long time. In the end, she gritted her teeth and turned her back to him. She slowly pulled open her bathrobe and covered her chest with the blanket. Her snow-white back was covered with bruises and abrasions. Her skin was broken and red and sticky liquid was flowing out. If it wasn't treated soon, it would get infected. Mika Kito's face was very pale. He took the iodine and tried to disinfect her wound as gently as possible. Although his movements were very gentle, every time the cotton swab touched the wound, it stung. Her body would tremble slightly and so would his heart. After cleaning the wound on her back, Mika Kito was sweating profusely. His voice was a little low. "Are you hurt anywhere else?" "A little, but I can apply the ointment myself." She wanted to pull up her bathrobe, but he grabbed her wrist. He said softly, "Don't be in a hurry to put it on. The mucus from the wound on your back will stick to the bathrobe. It will be very painful when you take it off. When you sleep tonight, lie on your side. Be careful not to let the blanket touch your wound." "Okay." Xiaodong blushed. She didn't know what to say. He poured out 2 pills and put them on the bedside. "Xiaxia, I put some anti-inflammatory medicine on the bedside. Remember to take it later." Okay. Remember to treat the other wounds. I'll make you something to eat." Mika Keto touched her head. His voice was full of tenderness. "What do you want to eat tonight?" "Seafood porridge. Brother Shin's seafood porridge is very delicious." Mika Keto's lips curved into a smile. Xiaodong breathed a sigh of relief when she heard the door close. She got out of bed and locked the door. She took off her bathrobe completely. Her legs were bruised and covered with bruises, especially at the base of her legs where the skin was scraped. When she disinfected her wound with the iodine, it was so painful that she saw stars. After disinfecting her wound, she applied the special ointment Mika Keto left for her and took the anti-inflammatory medicine. Then she covered herself with the blanket and lay on her side to rest. Beitang Shin left the room and comforted the children with a few words. Then he took his phone out and went to the corridor outside. With a cold face he dialed Jiang Dao's number. "Have you found those who escaped?" "There are 2 more. I'll give you 1 day. I want to see their bodies." "Yes, sir." Mika Keto was busy in the kitchen when he heard the doorbell ring. Through the peephole he saw Bailey Yun standing at the door, sweating profusely. It was obvious that he was in a hurry. He opened the door and looked at Bailey Yun expressionlessly. "What's the matter, Master Tingrui?" Bailey Yun's pupils shrank. He saw Xiaodong injured at the hospital and was worried about her. He found an excuse to call her, but she did not answer. He was so worried that he could not help but rush over. He did not expect to run into Mika Keto. Bailey Yun smiled. "I'm here to see Xiaxia." He moved sideways and wanted to enter the door. Mika Keto moved sideways and blocked his way. He said coldly, "Master Tingrui, you don't have to worry about Xiaxia. In the future, please stay away from Xiaxia." Bailey Yun's handsome face was cold. He gritted his teeth and said, "Mika Keto, Xiaxia can be with whoever she wants. You have no right to interfere with her business." Mika Keto glanced indifferently. "I'm her fiancé. If I don't have the right, who does?" Bailey Yun sneered. "Fiancé? That's fake. I already know that your engagement is fake. In the end, you're just Xiaxia's friend. What right do you have to stop me from seeing her?" Awesome novel, Songshu 566, that you're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.